I'm going to call to order the Westford Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. This meeting is being broadcast live by Westford Cable Access TV and being recorded for playback online. By participating in this meeting, you're consenting to your audio and likeness being used for this purpose. The first item on our agenda at 7 p.m. is open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum? Jim?
I have two items, both related to East Boston camps. One is I went in there at the Rose O'Donnell bench, which is halfway between the pond and the Stony Brook School, to watch the most recent park run. This is, I think, their fourth one in a row. They had about the same number of runners. I think there were 18 or 20 runners total. This did include some young kids that were walking with mom. Still no strollers, no senior citizens, nothing like that. But we got anything from 8 or 10-year-old kids up to adults. And it went fine, no problems at all. There were other users of the trails, and there were no concerns. I don't have any issue at all.
That's
so
great.
I'm probably not going to be going to any more of them. I went to the first four, and
Thanks.
I'm perfectly happy with them continuing on just like they've been doing. Second item is the Emily bench, the one that had the graffiti on it. I went back there after the park run just to check it out in a dry condition, because this was the first park run that didn't rain. And for some reason, when it's dry, when it's wet, you can see the blue graffiti paint more. And I know Matt has started the process of finding a vendor to clean it.
Yep, I can certainly. I need to confirm with them. We got one response, kind of just let them know and get them out there.
I have an announcement. I would like to thank the employees of Ribbon Communication. They had an employee volunteer day. They partnered with the Westford Conservation Trust. They did a trail walk along the Liberty Way Trail, removing trees, and they picked up, I think, five bags of litter. They included pictures, because it looks like a lot of the litter was coming from dumpsters in properties along 110. But also, 3 other volunteers worked with Rich Strasda to repair and replace boards on the bridge on the Peace Trail. And they also went in, the bridge had gotten kind of lopsided, so they went in and they repositioned the concrete blocks and rocks that were supporting the corners, so that the bridge is now level and stable. So I really appreciate, Westford employees stepping up to help the town that way.
I think it would be nice if we sent a letter, so they'd have a permanent piece to show others.
Okay. Yeah, well, and I believe this is the second year in a row that did it. Last year they were over at the trail at the Veterans Memorial Complex over off of Route 40. So we really appreciate it when companies give their employees opportunities to do things like that.
They can frame it, or they can show it, or,
Yeah. Matt, do you have anything?
Just a couple. One, I'd be remiss if I didn't make the announcement that the Pay As You Throw program is starting July 1st. The town manager's office, included kind of at the end of the meeting packet, had a flyer with a QR code to make sure that carts are delivered to all properties, so just check that out. Secondly, as posted on the announcement board at the rear entrance here, a public land steward position is presently advertised. This is that East Boston ranger up at the Stony Brook Conservation Area. I know Assistant Town Manager Mike Edwards went over in detail during kind of the update to the select board last night at their meeting, but that posting is open, and we're looking to move quickly and get somebody in that role and position. And then lastly,
is that for the camps?
I'd like to thank the engineering department and for acting as the project manager. If anybody has driven by the entrance to the Stony Brook Conservation Area, probably in the last 24 hours, the new road or entrance alignment has been paved. There's curbing. Still some more kind of finish landscaping to occur, but it certainly, again, I think it will improve, kind of slow down traffic entering and exiting, and overall be an improvement to the, again, the stormwater situation. I know over the winter there was a pretty good sized puddle right at the entrance along Depot Street that certainly grew and grew, so having that be addressed and kind of corrected as part of that Plain Road Phase 2 project. Appreciate the engineering department's oversight on this.
Do any members of the audience have anything for open forum? Okay. Moving on to our 7:05 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing for Weisenbloom, 8 Canal Street.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 27th, 2026 at 7:05 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Robert Weisenbloom for the abandonment of an existing failed septic system and installation of a new leaching field within 100 feet of bank or canal bordering land vegetated, subject to flooding at 8 Canal Street, Assessors Map 53, Parcel 7, Lot 0.
Good evening. For the record, Jeff Hannaford representing the applicant at 8 and 9 Canal Street. 8 and 9 Canal Street is a two-family home. It's on the end of a little right-of-way. It's the last house on the right-of-way off of Canal Street, actually. This is in the area of Abbott Mills. It sits up quite high, as you can see from the topography, from what is actually a canal that is connected to Forge Pond and then actually runs over and under the Abbott Mills. That happens to flow down in the back here through a concrete channel. So we located that, and of course the topography and the buffer zone covers about 2/3 to 3/4 of the property, all of the backyard where we're working. They have a failed septic system. It was inspected as part of the sale of the house that's pending, and so we've designed a Presby enviroseptic type innovative alternative system. The main reason for that is the limited area we had to work with. We are taking a few variances here. We're supposed to be 20 feet from a foundation. We're proposing 11 feet. Main reason for that is twofold. One is to get as far from the wetlands as possible, but there's also trees in the backyard that they were hoping to keep. One of them, I don't know, might have a root system too big. They're going to have somebody look at it once we stake out the location of the leach field. But the hope is that we're just far enough away to make it all work. So with that, there'll be a new 2-compartment septic tank as well. Right now it's a septic tank and a leach pit type of septic system. It is all sand and gravel. It does sit very high up from that canal. So there really is a good separation between the bottom of the leach area and the groundwater table. So we don't have a concern with that. So with the innovative alternative, we've managed to minimize the footprint as much as possible. We are putting in a 40 mil barrier between the leach field and the dwelling because we can't meet the 20-foot separation from the cellar wall. So that's another part installed within the buffer zone that's to protect the foundation. As you can see, there is erosion control. That happens to be about the limit of what is lawn area. The backyard is primarily between those two trees and then up to the dwelling. There is a fire pit there. I went and looked at that. The fire pit is a metal portable type of fire pit. It happens to sit on a bed of crushed stone. So there is a possibility that they'll want to reuse that. So they'll probably just push aside the crushed stone. Maybe they can reuse it or bring in some fresh crushed stone and put it back. But it's easily movable. So we don't see an issue with that. There was a question about what we call the proposed low vent there by the tree. When it comes to vents, we're always looking for ways to hide them. Most people don't like to look at them. So typically behind trees, shrubs, bushes, occasionally a shed. It's a nice way to hide them. There was a question about this with the roots to the tree. So after looking at it, and they are trying to save the tree anyway, so I revised the plan to show the vent right at the end of the last line of the system, right there. So it's just going to come out 2 feet from the end.
You could use, that's a laser pointer?
Oh, he was pointing.
I'm
Okay.
You updated this one, or this is the one you're talking about?
So, I mean, and so it will be updated, an updated plan will be provided again, and Jeff, just, the Board of Health is still reviewing the Board of Health haven't approved the plan yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
No, I did send an electronic copy yesterday when I found out, I think it was Thursday or Friday, there was a question about that. So I looked into it, and Monday being the holiday, yesterday, after taking a look at the site, I realized that I was hoping to get it behind the shed, but there's another tree there anyway. So there really is no good spot to locate it and be able to hide it. What the owners could do is hide it with shrubs, or there are decorative, like a fake granite pillar post that you can put over the vent, or bird baths that really do act as a vent, but they disguise it nicely. But anyway, I sent Matt an electronic copy of the revised location. But as you mentioned, until I have a final approval of the Board of Health, I don't know if they're going to want anything changed as well, so.
Any questions from members of the commission? Matt, do you have any?
Just in hearing that, again, whether or not this tree is retained or removed, if any documentation from an assessment, from a tree professional, I request that be included and provided to the commission. Again, if it is to be removed, again, if it's, the roots will be too severely impacted, would request just a deciduous tree be replanted, just so that, we're not
Sure.
removing,
Yep.
some vegetation is being.
And another reason for going with the Presby system is Unlike a conventional system, there is no 5-foot overdig around the footprint, so that minimizes any disruption of the root area. So,
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? For the timeline for the Board of Health review and approval by our next meeting, June 11th?
yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to June 11th?
So moved.
Second.
Actually, is our next meeting the 11th?
It's
Or the
the,
10th?
I'm pretty sure it's the 10th.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to June 10th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we will see you on the 10th.
Got it.
Okay. Moving on to our 7:10 PM agenda item, it's a continue public hearing and issue order of conditions for New England Power Company, K137E, L138E, and the 337 transmission line right-of-way work.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Carl, ecologist with BSC Group. We reviewed the order and everything looks good.
Say again?
We reviewed the order and everything looks good.
So after,
So, and
So you're
so
not
kind
going
of,
to
we,
the-
well, we received revision or comments from BSC. So the draft provided in the commission's agenda tonight included both special conditions struck, again, at the request of the applicant. It also included was, again, language, specifically Special Condition 51, regarding construction equipment being stored where practical. Also, whether may not be large equipment that may not be relocated as easily, employing secondary containment overnight. I know there was this was one I know that was raised to be removed, again, number 58, which is the prohibition between work between December 1st through April 1st without the permission of the commission. I know the commission likes to retain that one, again, as you're also using.
Yeah, why would we get rid of that?
Yeah, why?
No, that's why, again, so they
It was requested
reviewed,
to remove.
right, they requested to remove it, and so that's the, so again,
Okay.
in terms of, I certainly think, some of the, all the other drafted special conditions, with the strike-through, are certainly, this is a unique project, there are considerations for this that, say, are atypical of a single-family house construction or addition. I know, again, with respect to when the soil boring order of condition was issued 4 years ago or thereabouts, I recall this was included in it.
so basically the way this condition works is if you've got work that you want to do between December 1st and April 1st,
Yep.
you basically come, tell us what the work is, the dates during which you expect to complete the work, any extra measures you need to take for whatever reason, and then, the commission then grants you the approval to do that work. We just like to know what's happening in those off seasons and make sure that if extra precautions are needed, that they're taken. So it's not like we don't want work, we just want to have a review of it and to know what's happening. So that's why we would want to.
Would you prefer just an email when, to let you know that we'll be continuing work during those?
I mean, again, I think this past winter, I know project proponents attended kind of the first meeting in, I think it was December, kind of requesting permission. And then, again, as conditions, the
All right,
winter
even if-
progressed, it certainly, I don't recall many It was more just kind of an email update of, yep, here's where we are. It's been 6 weeks. Where, here's kind of, we've moved on to
We'd like
this.
to continue, and this is what we want to do.
Yeah,
Right,
and you can even, if it's getting into November, because a lot of times we don't have our second meeting in November because it's the day before Thanksgiving, so it's for our first November meeting, an email that says, this is the work that we would plan to do, between December 1st and December 31st or whatever. You can line up the plan well in advance of December 1st.
Okay, I think the issue was just the permission part, because we might be still working in that area, but I think an email update to let you know what was previously done and what we're continuing to do is okay.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
normally the way we work it.
Okay.
So 58's going back in.
Yes.
Well, I think we did not want that originally because it said except with permission, but could it be modified?
And that's
Just
what we're still asking. I think maybe there was a little loss of communication there. You're not telling us this is what we're doing. You're saying this is what I'd like to do between December 1st and April 1st. And then we say yes or no, or let's work on the first month. We'll do the month of December 1st to December 31st, and then we'll check with you again about January or February.
the client was fairly specific about removing that condition.
I want it in there.
I don't see it being removed. It's a standard condition.
And again, the commission, in the last 5 years, I recall 3 instances where the commission didn't grant, and one was a steep slope on Lakeshore South with which wanted to clear and remove stumps in the winter time. A second was excavating a pool foundation, or excavating for a pool in February, while things were happening. And then the third was nobody showed up. Somebody asked and nobody showed up, They didn't follow through with what was to be provided.
With the work that's being done on Boston Road, they came in and it's, you tell us what you do. It's more giving us the chance to ask the questions that says, what are you doing? What extra protections do you need to take so that we have confidence that nothing is, that nothing is going to go wrong in terms of for example, somebody opening up a site and not making sure that the erosion control are beefed up and on a steep slope or something like that. So I guess I'm getting the sense you want to kind of go back and basically say this is where the commission is with this particular condition.
To close out tonight, could we modify that condition?
You can't close it out tonight and then come back with.
So what kind
amend it.
what kind of modification would you be looking for?
Just requesting an email update for what was,
Um,
I don't want to not close out for it, but.
The email
Got
will be-
you want to poll the commission, because I think if you want to have these orders issued tonight, we're going to want to see that condition in there.
okay, but what you're saying is that the request,
She's not saying the word request.
well, that the proposed work the request to do proposed work could be submitted via email.
Yep. And
That you don't have to
But
have
our
somebody.
standard is you come here and you provide, a written request.
Right, I mean, and it
That's
can
the
be.
standard.
It can be,
And if it's
via
not done
email.
that way, then everybody's going to want to have the same accommodation to be able to submit an email. And we like that opportunity to discuss with the applicant what they're doing. And I really can't do that as part of the meeting if you simply receive an email to that effect.
Right, I mean, I think it doesn't need to be its own report, I certainly receive these requests in email, but then they get included in the meeting packet for the commission's consideration,
But does the applicant does not always come to that meeting to
Again,
request it.
that kind of recalling back to last winter, it was primarily kind of at the start of the request, and then, it was,
Initially, we met,
It
and
was-
then it was, a
in
continuation.
kind of 6-week increments where it was again, and, that was with, the 2 significant snowstorms, and so, again, I think it's not No, I think the commission just wants to be able to check in, have that check-in and make sure that ground conditions aren't changing as so drastically and the, erosion controls need to be readdressed or something has happened kind of in that period, that 6-week approval. I don't,
So is your concern that with, for example, with the initial request, that somebody would have to be here in person?
No, I think the concern is we might be in the middle of work between December and April 1st and not be able to modify the schedule and then having to come and request permission to work between those time periods. We couldn't just stop the job.
So, and,
The email updates.
yeah, so
are
if,
fine.
because one of the things that we do is, like, when these requests start coming in the first meeting in November, so that we can get it, so it's in place, we also make sure that if the work is, for example, through December 31st,
Yeah.
we will set our end date to after our next meeting to make sure, or we make sure that there's a meeting time that you can reach out to us and say, we need, the work we're doing, it's going to take us 2 weeks longer. And then we can, we have a mechanism for saying, okay, we will extend the permission to the Friday after our next meeting. So we always are providing the mechanism for it's taking longer than expected. Here's a way to extend the date.
And you mean like taking longer than it's expected to like modify anything that needs to be done in order to
No,
continue?
in terms of getting the work completed.
Oh,
so we had, so for a first 6-week period, there was, 8 footings that were going to be poured, and, the site work associated with them. And, come 5 weeks later, we've, 6 have been done, 2 are still outstanding, but now we also want to pursue 4 more. It's not, again, I understand as it's written, the perspective of, the commission could say no.
yeah.
Again, I think the commission, in my opinion, the only instance where the commission would say no is if sites aren't being maintained. And at which point, that's kind of a stop, if if the site isn't being maintained in July and, we're getting significant erosion or things like that, I'm probably issuing a stop or, we're going to have a conversation first to say, hey, we need to pump the brakes. We're, going. And so I certainly respect, again, there's a lot of moving pieces to this. Again, this is not, it's certainly a logistic, it's different logistically than a typical project with which the commission sees. Again, I also think I appreciate it because then I know, if work is not occurring, again, with the Boston Road project where they're, installing the under drain and stuff, we had snowbanks on the side of it. They couldn't work because it was, too snowy. I didn't have to worry about and go out and do inspections. It's a mechanism for me to know which projects I need to visit and which have kind of been stabilized for the winter. And so I don't see there being very many instances with which the permission would not be granted. But it is, I do like it.
It has happened, but it's rare.
Right.
Well, and it's usually not projects of this nature where the work is well thought out and well planned out. It's usually somebody's cutting corners or stuff like that, or where we've seen an issue.
For that reason, for it being a different project, could we modify the language of it so we can come here and show you the progress of the project and what's been going on and what we're planning to do, but remove the permission, because we'll work with you on whatever needs to be done, because this is, as you said, a different type of project than what you're typically seeing.
Would the commission want, so December, January, February, March, April. So it's a 5-month, or actually, so it's
December to April.
Yeah,
so it's only 4 months.
4 months.
Does the commission would the commission be amenable to having a representative come in and give a update every 2 months, so,
You mean during those 4 months?
yeah, during that period,
Or-
So the condition says, hey, you're going to come in and, present, give us an update. I mean,
We've
So,
also previously just
You
sent
could,
reports.
but I really don't see,
you,
You don't need it.
I don't see the accommodation, I don't believe is necessary. I believe they can come in like any other applicant, request to do the work between the period, show us what they plan to do. I don't see it not being accepted unless there really is an outstanding issue. And then as we move forward, if they want to, update you with email, but I do believe they should come in like, any other applicant.
so, Marilyn,
Would work.
Jim,
What?
in terms of getting thoughts around the table in terms of, do we want condition 58?
I want 58 in there, yes.
Lauren? Okay, so I think you get a sense of just as a level of protection, we want to be able to say, no, things are going wrong, we want work stopped.
Yep,
But we're more than happy that if work is going well, we want you to move forward, continue forward and meet your timelines.
okay. We wouldn't mind coming in to do that. It's just, I think, we couldn't like risk stopping work.
But
But we
if-
would work with you, of course, in the.
But it's one of those things that if we start to see issues, if we started seeing things go wrong, we have the ability to issue a stop work order. So this is just making sure that we're working proactively so we don't get into that situation.
Okay.
Okay.
So are we okay with this? Or is this back on the table? 'Cause
Well, I think the feeling is the commission wants the ability to have that review and be informed, but it's up to the project applicant to agree or take the conversation where it goes.
Okay, and we can't modify the language to like remove permission, or we can just come in November or whenever would be appropriate to give you the update in person and.
Well, it's like when you come in November,
Yep.
you say, okay, this is the work that's planned between now and the end of December. And we're like, okay, that sounds good to us. And then later in December, you come in and say, this is how much we got done. This is what we want to do between January 1st and February 15th. So that's kind of the cadence of how it works.
Okay,
Okay?
that makes sense. That's we would be on board with that. I think it's the permission part that.
It becomes a trust issue.
Yeah.
Would the commission be amenable to including not to be unreasonably withheld? I know that's language from, conservation restrictions, it's kind of,
You don't see
if
that,
you're,
sure.
I don't know, because then that's very subjective too. Let's leave it the way it is, and, because if the process works well. I haven't heard much, if anybody, complaining about the process. They understand it, they come in, they abide by it, they typically get what they want.
If you have questions, you can ask us, and we're always here.
Okay.
Okay.
I know that the client said this is a non-starter, so.
What about number 47? I mean, that's, again, a standard order that's, being redlined.
and this was, I know, raised by, I think a lot of it was related to, it may be stored on ground, when they're removing, say, a previous.
No, and I get that, but there's, here we're pretty much saying it has to happen with some immediacy. Without it just is removed. It just says, hey,
I mean, again, if
agree or
we,
whatever that.
shall be,
Typically, we want it out, off the site as soon as possible, out of the buffer or what have you. Certainly not left in the resource area. And this just kind of omits all of that.
Well,
I mean,
And-
can we modify the language instead of omitting it?
Well, I think some of it was because this is different, for example, than a house demolition or cutting down of trees. This is in terms of the logistics of removing the structures that are, it's much more, with accessing the locations, it's just, it's the kind of work that needs to be planned carefully, and they're the experts. They want to be able to do it in the way that makes sense, given the constraints they're working with.
Then we should at least say that we would like this material off, as quickly as possible. If there's debris on the site that's being removed, and instead of putting it into a dumpster and removing it under 47, because that's what it talks about, how else, if not in accordance with 47, what's their procedure gonna be? Left there till a time of their choosing to remove it?
For example, with the old utility poles, they typically stockpile the utility poles for a time, and then once they're done with the stretch, a company comes in to remove them, and you can't, they're utility poles, the transmission poles. So you can't put them in a dumpster, they're stockpiled. Additionally, they stockpile supplies along the right of way as well. That we do come in and they remove everything, and then also as environmental monitors, we're on site and we take note of anything.
So how do we know that the debris that are generated, are moved out of the resource or the buffer zone to the extent possible? I have no idea where you're going to be storing any of this, where your lay down areas, where you be.
We direct them to store in upland locations away from wetland resource areas. And
I'm
we're
happy
on
with
site.
language like that.
Yeah, I mean, if any demolition.
Because right now, it's just, it could be
No,
anywhere, and
yeah,
I'm like, hey,
no, and again, kind of, any demolition debris shall be stockpiled outside of resource areas? Again, if it's in the
the extent
buffer,
possible, because I don't know where, but.
I mean, if that's, that's
What do you think
certainly.
about that language, Jim?
So you can't necessarily
Like
pull it out
outside
of
the,
the
resource
riverfront
area.
area.
Yeah,
And
no, I like
Right.
that.
maybe the buffer area too.
Just because it's so large, but
That's what I'd like
when
in a
something is
perfect
stockpiled, we
world,
tell
yeah.
them to move it, we take note of where everything is stockpiled.
So, and if you're working the transmission line right away in segments, when you're pretty much done with one segment, you're gonna move to the next. You would remove the debris in the segment where you're working before you begin working in the next segment?
Sometimes the poles stay there a little bit longer,
Okay. So
but generally, they come in.
demolition debris shall be stored pending removal
As soon as possible.
and Jim?
What if it was to be promptly, any demolition debris will be promptly removed from the site or stored outside or temporarily stored outside the resource area and buffer zones?
I think buffer zones might be a little tough. But definitely, of course, outside the resource areas, but
But either
To
promptly
the
remove it
extent
from the site
practical.
or not in the resource area? Those would be
Yep.
okay? I could go with that.
Shall be promptly.
or to the
Well, that
extent
allows them to
practical.
store it in the buffer zone,
But,
Temporarily, yeah.
temporarily.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
It's
does.
it's all temporary.
Yeah.
yeah.
But they can't leave it there forever.
Well, and I think some of it is, and all debris will be removed from the site at the completion of the project.
Yes.
That's good.
Yep.
Good with that.
Oh, I'm not writing it down.
Describe it.
Project.
And then also, so any demolition debris shall be,
Either removed promptly from the site or stored outside the resource area, temporarily outside the resource area.
removed site or store outside resource area.
And you got the part about remove, all the removed, at the completion of the project?
By the end of the project, by the completion of the project.
Completion before the order, before the certificate of compliance.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else we need to talk about?
Uh,
Well, no, but.
Again, and then, again, reports, I think we're 2 days, they proposed 5, that's certainly,
That's fine.
again, amenable. Again, the special conditioning when work is occurring within the wetland south of Rome Drive, for those structures within the resource area to be removed. I want to be notified, I want to go out, because I think that's certainly one of the more trickier sites. Again, the 27 and 28, again, they,
Pesticides, herbicides, that kind of stuff.
yes, again, they raised that, the applicant raised that during the previous public hearing as to the rationale why. Again, oh, and one of the other, with respects to the compensatory flood storage, for that being lost, the commission typically requires that it be created within the same time period as the bordering land subject to flooding is being filled. And as explained, due to the presence of construction matting and construction staging, it won't be concurrent, it'll be after that portion.
Sequential.
Yeah, after that's removed, which again, I'm certainly amenable to.
Question?
I have one. It's on that page. It's actually the top right there. It's a grammar thing. Within the.
All right, thanks. You're ready to, you look at them long enough and you're like, oh yeah, I need to make sure that that's right. Too much red text.
So any other comments, questions, or anything? Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
458, I would want to go back and let
Okay.
them know that first.
Okay,
Because I don't want to do it and then close the public
Fine,
hearing and
okay.
have them
Yep.
want to make a
So we'll con-
modification.
so we'll continue to,
The applicant shall notify the Conservation Commission prior to performing winter work and provide details to demonstrate any additional BMPs necessary due to winter conditions.
Is this in lieu of our standard
58.
language?
Yeah, that's taken out the permission aspect again.
Uh,
well,
What?
I'm not changing it.
okay, so,
And I don't know what, I know your position and similar to mine, I don't know.
Leave it.
Lauren?
Yeah.
from my perspective, this language tends to stay boilerplate because we want it to apply to everybody, but we really work with the applicants to figure out how we can let them continue doing the work that they need to get done. So yes, I would want to keep it, but I think we should continue the public hearing till June 10th because you need to go back and kind of run this by.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
double check that.
Yes, okay, that makes, yeah, so we'll continue to June 10th, and, you know, we can have conversations back and forth with Matt in terms of working.
These are quick kind of revisions, and we can send a
Yeah.
draft back to.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to June 10th?
So,
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, it's a continuation of a public hearing for Boston Gas Company, 400 Littleton Road. Hello.
I'm Shyla Davis with BSC Group.
Good evening, I'm Matt Wozniak, environmental engineer with Boston Gas Company.
So included in the commission's meeting packet was the no take or no? Yeah, no take letter from the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife as proposed. So that I know was something outstanding from kind of the commission's previous public hearings.
Okay,
Do you want an update? I mean, since we met on the 13th, we have also been before the Littleton Planning Board, and we identified the permitting path forward with them, and we need site plan review and a stormwater permit from the planning board. And then also just earlier today, we met with the Littleton Conservation Commission, walked through the site. They identified the wetlands and the trees that are going to be removed. So that's moving forward as well. And then when I was out there on the sidewalk, I noticed that the driveway that's paved is narrower than the gravel portion of the driveway. And so I emailed Matthew, you probably didn't get the
I
email.
saw it as I was printing stuff out.
Yeah, sorry, it was a little last minute, but I was wondering if the plans for that driveway show the width of the driveway, and what I measured was about 20 feet out there. But when you get to the gravel portion of the existing driveway, it's 24 to 26 feet. And that kind of makes sense because over time, nothing's holding the gravel in, so it kind of, maybe spreads out over time. But I just wanted to let the commission know that our intent was to match the paved portion, so it's probably 20 feet.
so the paved portion being the portion before you get to
Yes.
the crossing?
Yeah, so based on my rough calculations this afternoon, there's 24 feet of existing crushed stone that's used as the driveway. And we're gonna make that 20 feet, so it'll actually be pulling it in a little bit to match the front of the driveway. And I know the commission has concerns about the 4-foot crushed stone sidewalk, and so I was thinking, you already have some width of crushed stone that maybe we're gonna pull back as part of this. And I also was thinking that, the owner has asked for that crushed stone pathway, and so we've included it in this project. And I think it makes sense to do all the work, if it's approved, to do all that work at once instead of segregating them and doing it as a separate project later on. Because we're gonna be out there with all the BMPs, we're gonna be installing the gas mains, the disturbance will be going on, so putting that sidewalk in, that crushed stone path in while we're out there, I think is the least additional impacts. But that's,
Who was asking for that sidewalk?
the owner.
Right. That's
Yes.
not part of your project.
I mean, we don't need that for
You
our.
don't need that. And if I believe back when that roadway was originally proposed, there's a reason why it's crushed gravel and only paved at certain portions. Because we weren't looking for, an additional walkway, pathway, what have you, back to the owner's property. If you look back, I don't know if the findings indicate that.
There
but, I mean,
is a
we left it
special
the way it
con-
was because we weren't looking for any additional activity. Now you've come and you want to put asphalt on top of that, which is something that we did not want at that time. We weren't looking, because I believe that was discussed at that time. So you're coming in with that, but also seeking an accommodation that you're not requesting, but the owner is. So, I'm certainly not in favor of that. And, if this is to accommodate this particular activity, I certainly want to make sure that we're not doing anything we shouldn't be doing in regards to an existing order that, from which that road was constructed. I don't know if you had looked at that.
Yeah, so this was, again, included in the commission's meeting packet last week. Again, certainly the findings, the setup of them, I prefer how we write them now. There isn't anything within the findings about, Eric, to your point about it being
I know,
gravel.
and it just doesn't see, but that was, why we did what we did.
Yep, again, as this is,
I mean, I don't think you've ever seen us construct a road the way it was constructed like that.
it's certainly unique.
But I certainly know that we weren't looking to improve it by widening it and provide a walkway.
Well, and because the walkway's going out to the street is, if the walkway was from employee parking to the facilities on site where the employees were working, we would expect interior paths for them to use rather than sending them out to the street.
Yeah, it stops before the culvert, because
Yeah,
we're not
and-
expanding it, yeah, so it
It
does stop.
if it's for employees to get to their work locations, it would be more appropriate for them to be going through the site as opposed to directing them out to the public road, which doesn't even have a sidewalk.
Right. When we were before the planning board, they brought up that some people walk their dogs out there.
We don't.
So that's not, something that's,
Not reason enough.
yeah, that's not an issue to put it there.
So in terms of kind of ongoing conditions as part of that approval, again, was discussed gating and limiting public access between May through outside of the period from May to November, as opposed to oddly. And again, the deliveries of the liquefied natural gas, there we go, I was looking for an adverb, is, if that's not public, if that's not a public use, again, certainly trying to ensure that we're conforming to the conditions in perpetuity with which were imposed, again, and the sand and the salt, again, I don't know if that was something that was explored in terms of a snow management, again, kind of making sure that we're not storing, we're not impacting that tree box filter. And again, I'm sure that's shown on the plan that I'll scan and get to you. But also making sure that we're not, and again, that snow should be directed and enter into the stormwater control features, as being an important, making sure that's working to such a means.
Yeah, I'm fine with this, I just, don't want the walkway.
So in terms.
Right now, their application doesn't include the walkway that's being requested by the owner of the property.
If I may, I do believe it
Is that
was
correct?
included
Yeah.
in the project plans, and from my understanding, that's a request from the property owner for the project to move forward, for the employees, not for public, from my understanding, is for the employee usage, and as I understand, there's bus drivers that use that, I don't know, parking lot, or I don't know all the details
Yeah,
exactly,
no,
but I do understand it was for the business's purpose to have that access, which, understanding that it is within the buffer zone, and the current layout of that road is the edges are fairly compacted and they are grass, so it is not, prime habitat, say, but it's very much within,
We
there is
were
an
looking for
existing
further
green.
improvement. And you're not asking for that improvement as part of your notice. It's the applicant that's asking you to do something in addition to, and so I'm saying, let's stick with what, is being proposed by the
What's
applicant.
needed for the LNG
for this.
facility.
Right,
Right.
and if the or if the owner is seeking something further, then let them come back under a separate notice of intent.
Okay, so, this is an RDA. So if the project description includes something like the gravel sidewalk, can we issue a determination that says yes to Part A
I mean,
of the request and no to Part B?
Actually, I'd have to take a look at the actual determination form, because I don't.
They're saying it's not part of their application.
It is.
Well, no, it's not part of their work. It's
But
It's not part of their
It's
need.
not,
Yes.
yeah, it's not part of the need for the LNG facility. It's.
If I understood
It
correctly,
was
though,
included.
it was in order to be able to utilize that pathway that the landowner is allowing
The owner,
project to be done
as
on.
part of our lease agreement, they've included this pathway, so.
So I would argue that that would be a project need in that regard. And that's why we did include it in the project plans.
So it was negotiated with the property owner.
Yes, as a condition of us having a facility there in the wintertime.
Yeah, and that's what I have issue with. Because it provides access that originally we didn't provide, in our previous determination. And I believe at that time, it might have been sought, and we're coming back again at it as part of a condition to, what's being proposed.
If I may ask.
And I don't think we should be subject to that.
Let it go.
So if information that the commission would be looking for to issue a determination, a negative determination for, it would be one, to remove the sidewalk from the scope of the proposed work.
Yeah. And it would, I don't know if it would be would it be a conditional, there's got to be some condition.
Right, no, I'm just trying to,
Yeah, I know.
I'm working
Yeah.
through what information needs to be provided, then we can move forward, so that the commission can, either be comfortable issuing a negative determination, or, again, the other option, again, with I guess there's a third option, technically with withdrawing, but the second option would be a positive determination by the commission. And so I'm trying to get, what information, if I provide the plan for, the approved plan for this work when originally approved back in 2015, I think, and that shows, again, the extent of the access way, and if the pavement is occurring within the crushed stone and it's still consistent with the, again, the long-term, I forgot what the term was that they used, long-term maintenance guidelines, it's
Yeah,
still,
that means-
And
it's,
then it only goes as far as the LNG facility. It does not extend farther into the subject property.
Perfect.
but in terms of, information, one would be revised scope from the applicant team with the removal of, the sidewalk. The second being, confirmation of snow management, that it's
Yeah.
gonna follow that, bullet two. And it would, operate in such fashion that it does direct to the stormwater. And then lastly, confirmation that the proposed pavement is entirely within the,
Existing.
well, I don't want to say the existing, because I'm not 100%. I would say the extent of the access way as shown on the approved plan. Because to your point.
It's got 20 and 24, but I think it's probably gonna be like 20.
Right,
We're gonna
and-
match what's in the front.
Yeah,
Right,
but,
right, but that's to my point, and not say, hey, it's 24 out there now, so you get to use 24.
get-
It's,
exactly.
it's, hey, 20 was proposed, 20 is,
There's been some creep with, but still it's 20. yeah.
but that it also stops at the LNG facility.
Yeah.
The pavement does not
Well, I
continue
mean,
beyond the
that's
LNG.
also not Westford. The LNG facility is in
Oh,
Littleton,
so what you're saying is that we only have jurisdiction over the pavement to the west, to the town line?
Yes.
But could we then say no paving
Well,
beyond
I
as
think,
the road?
that's existing pavement as it continues around.
When
to
it
the-
goes back through Littleton and then back into Westford, is it paved?
There is a portion that is currently paved, so the project that we're proposing within Westford is for the paving of what's currently gravel. And I don't know if you have the ER
I'm
maps.
gonna.
That might be helpful, yeah, I have them
Just so-
smaller scale here,
Yeah.
but, so, on the Westford line, the area that's outlined in that red shade, that is the proposed paved area. And the existing pavement is indicated with the yellow line, which, where your cursor is currently is on the Littleton side.
Yeah, I
there.
know, I'm just
And then-
showing that.
Then it
Yeah.
goes back in
Yeah,
Westford.
so then it
But
goes back.
I think it continues
Yeah.
into,
Okay, so that part is
That part
paved?
is outside of.
and that's also outside the buffer. I looked at the
Yeah.
previous
Okay.
approval
Yeah.
Okay.
for the.
Where's the culvert?
The
Over-
culvert is on the next page, I believe,
I think it's on the first.
closer to Littleton Road.
I'm getting there, sorry. And that's presently paved.
Yep. And that turquoise line, it's a little challenging, I think, to see, but the turquoise line that's
This one.
to the right, that's like immediately adjacent to the roadway.
Oh, where you can see where the culvert goes?
Yeah,
This-
so
this-
that line there, that is the extent to which the path was proposed. That is where it would stop, so it would not proceed past that point towards Littleton Road.
So it wouldn't even get to the culvert?
No.
Correct.
So
Yeah, so the current proposed
the
pathway
planning board was
stops
okay?
there.
I mean, I know.
No,
we're not-
no,
we're
so
not-
the Littleton Planning Board,
Oh.
I don't think they
There's
have,
no room on that, the culvert crossing isn't meant for people.
And there's no
But we're
sidewalk.
encouraging people elsewhere on there by putting sidewalks or roadways. Doesn't make sense.
And you guys will have access to open and close the gate that's covering.
Yeah.
Because that's where the problem would be, is if it's paved and they're building the year-long thing, that they'll want to use this road to go
The
over.
year-round restaurant, year-round.
Yeah.
Yeah, naturally.
that's something I think the commission should discuss separate, based upon kind of the conflict between what's proposed, or, again, kind of the limitations as shown on that. The limitations imposed as per that, the 2015 order of conditions, versus the scope of activity that was proposed and reviewed as part of the amenity restaurant arcade structure to the rear. I think that's maybe different from, again, if, they have individual access to, unlock a gate, drop a tanker trailer at that property, at the proposed facility. Again, that's certainly different than scope of work for, say,
It's just making sure that they have access to the gate. It's not relied on Kimball's to keep it.
yeah,
open.
you can have double gate, double hinges and stuff. They exist.
Okay. So, you've got the three criteria where we need modification of the application.
Yes.
Okay. So, and who do you submit that to?
I will put it in writing, send it to both the applicant team, and then have response for the commission's next meeting.
Okay,
So again, move this forward.
so continue the public
If
hearing to
amenable
June
with-
10th.
I just had one question of, you were mentioning something about an order of conditions for another project. Could you just provide clarification?
so-
Are we being held to another project?
So
This
the,
is an RDA, so.
the property owner
Former
was
property
issued.
owner? Is it former property?
I mean, it's the current I mean, they didn't close it out, so it's
All right.
it's affecting them. An order of conditions was issued by the Conservation Commission in 2015 for the construction of this roadway initially. The property owner never closed it out. So as that's an open order of conditions with which, I mean, again, that's the order of condition. It was the order of conditions that permitted this wetland crossing.
Oh, okay.
And again, there were impositions as part of it, but kind of trying to parse out what's here, what's there, what's.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, more to how that is impacting the project that we're here to discuss tonight.
Right, and again, it's because they haven't closed it out, and there's,
Subject to the existing.
Yeah, in terms of, public access. Again, that you guys, I mean, the commission, as discussed, the intermittent deliveries of, natural, the LNG tankers isn't public, that's a pretty specific, private use. It's not municipal access, or general public access to the property.
Well stated.
So are there any comments or questions from members of the audience?
Who we've now put to sleep.
Okay, so you're gonna submit that.
Yep.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to June 10th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
See you on the 10th.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Matt, are you going to provide those? Okay.
Okay, so moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item is the continuation of public hearing and issue order of conditions for 219 Littleton Road. Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sean, do you want to start tonight, or?
Sure. Yeah, so I can be pretty brief. I know you guys have a lot on your plate, but we were able to get drawings. Oh, sorry, Sean Sanger with Copley Wolf Design Group. Sorry about that, Matt. Yeah, so we were able to update plans, so we're consistent between civil and landscape architecture site drawings. We also included into the, at the base of the planting plan, we've got definitions of a first pass at seed mixes, so if you guys want to be able to see those, please let us know. We've got what I'll call more of a natural mix, and then we have a wetland mix in there as well. And then we have identified, in particular, the two kind of small triangular pieces that we're paving, Margaret, I think that you had pointed out when we were on site, but we've got those identified into the plans with the special mix there, so we've got those folded into the drawings. So yeah, I think we've been able to get all of that kind of caught up for you guys. Hopefully we're consistent, I believe.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that, I know that you have wetland boundary signage, and what we generally have on all of our projects where there's work within the buffer zone is we have conservation posts to clearly identify, basically the actual no disturb, so that landscapers and other people don't go beyond a certain location. And part of it is you've got a lot of plans here, figure out which is the appropriate plan where that demarcation should be included. I guess, does it make sense to use the same plan that has those wetland boundary signs?
Again, that's shown on the landscape materials plan. I certainly think it can be, that may be a good place for them to be located, again, so it's all, again, kind of associated with the landscaping, planting
Totally.
stuff.
The signs are all on the same plan. It just, in terms of, if we've got conservation posts, if we've got the location of the wetland boundary signage, the informational sheets, if all of those things are on the same plan, it becomes easier for somebody who's looking at, okay, what's the right plan to see what needs to go where.
So I think you can help me out. So Margaret, I heard you mention conservation posts. You had wetlands. Was it wetland boundary?
Well, that's what's currently on that plan.
Correct. I thought I was hearing multiple different types of signs, so I just want to make sure I was understanding kind of the direction on that sign.
So, Matt, do you want to,
Yeah, I'm getting to,
gotta find the right plan?
yeah, and I don't know.
No. I believe it's page,
LO, yeah, 10, L,
Yep.
I don't know, if we,
Keep going. Right there should be a materials plan.
yeah,
Matt. Yep.
so, oh, God.
Oh, yeah, I see wetland boundary signage.
Yeah, so wetland boundary signage is shown kind of, again, in, stop moving.
Yeah, there's those little black dots.
Yeah, these black kind of dots with a line. I know, kind of to Margaret's point about, continuing them along this area, again, just so, again, kind of throughout the property, again, so
Okay.
that we're not, people aren't doing that what they feel, kind of off the amenities or off the edge of the parking, again, in terms of the trail, the public access trail going along kind of the water body or the waterway. And I know limited access is afforded behind kind of the easterly C building.
Right.
I don't know, I mean, would the commission like to see, even though there's just a 5-foot kind of public safety access?
Basically a lawn area.
so where those parking spaces are being removed south of the wetland, that area is going to become a no-mow seed mix?
Going to be seeded, yes.
Okay. This is one of the standard things we do is, we basically have posts put in there to, once erosion controls are gone, is conservation posts that says, this is where, beyond here is where the wetland resource areas are, and so that's not an area to be expanded into for use. And, these plans, there's been a lot of moving parts in this project, and we're now getting down to
We know the
dotting
nitty-gritty.
the i's
Yep.
and crossing the t's. And,
Absolutely.
and I'm speaking the way I, as a member of this commission, look at things, and, if others,
No, I think what you're saying is appropriate, looking at the plan first, it's not the final plan, because those parking spaces are gonna get removed. And you're saying it's basically a no-mow seed mix. Typically, we would put conservation posts with markers, at a prescribed distance from one another. So, yeah, I would think it'd be appropriate to ask for it here.
and I guess one of
Madam
the.
Chair, just to put point
Sure.
that we have no objection to that
Oh, and I'm not
whatsoever.
saying you do.
No.
We're crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Yeah.
No, there's no disagreement.
No,
Yeah,
no, we're happy to put them in and we think we
No,
should.
yeah, no, I
We
think
don't
it's-
want the creep in that area, you know, so we'd like to have the signage
No.
there. And as part of the planning board approval process, we also are gonna have a master signage plan that's a requirement of the building permit. So I think we could probably do this 2 times. Like, we can show what we can show as details on this set, and then add a condition of approval that allows your staff member to review this final signage plan, because it's already a requirement of the planning board. So you can see not just the location, but the final details of the plan prior to installation, when we actually have construction drawings.
Well, and I think a lot of times is what matters, while we care about the words that are put on the posts, we're also much more interested in where in relation to the resource area they're located, and you know, and because this plan shows the pre-construction, or the existing location of the parking spaces, but then also gives you an indication of, you know, trying to wrap my head around that existing conditions and then the location of the no-mow seed mix, it's kind of thinking about where are the key you know, where do the posts go in relation to the resource area? And
So are we gonna get to see the revision to this plan? I mean, probably not tonight if we got an order of conditions in front of us.
Well,
But
no,
you'll
well,
get to see-
again, I mean, again, this is, the commission review, I know, was provided to the applicant team to, again, if there's changes, again, if we need to add a special condition because that's kind of the one outstanding piece, again, the plans that have been provided, and again, as there have been plan revisions and plan changes, the plan set that was most recently provided was not signed or stamped. So that's kind of.
No, I get
mean,
it.
So if that's, it's, let's get everything out so the commission can kind of close at the next meeting,
No, and that's fine, yeah. I typically hate to close and not get, a final, plan to the extent that it's final, and this isn't the final plan. But, to the extent we have the orders and, if we can, if there are any changes or modifications here and, do this at our meeting on the 10th, if that's what we're, striving for, that makes sense.
but we'd want to see the plan with the location of the posts
Right.
shown.
With those revisions.
So, in terms of, are we thinking, for example, where pavement is removed and no-mow seed mix is put down, that we would want the posts at the edge of the no-mow seed mix?
That makes the most sense. I mean, there's only gonna be so much area between that no-mow
Yeah.
seed mix and the resource. And,
Well,
once that-
but it's gonna vary around the site, that distance
Right, but
will
I'm
vary
looking at that one
significantly.
area south of,
Yeah.
where that parking's gonna be removed. But yeah, I would say along the edge to the extent possible.
Yeah, and where you've got that 5-foot strip that I think needs to be kept mowed for fire access.
access.
Obviously, the conservation posts are between the edge of that 5-foot strip and the wetlands. And then the other place would be also along where the wellness path goes along the top of the bank near Vine Brook. The edge of the, enough off the wellness path that if you're mowing a 2-foot or 3-foot strip next to the wellness path, then the post would be between the edge of that mowing strip and then the top of the bank almost?
Yeah, kind of at the limit of mowed area everywhere.
Yes.
So I think
That's a nice summary.
And I think at the moment, Margaret, we're showing those about 30 feet on center. Should they be closer? I mean, do you guys have specific standards? I mean, if we're gonna start putting dots on the plan, I just.
No, I hear you.
I mean.
We usually like them a little closer than 30, don't we?
I think 25 is kind of
The standard?
where, but again, 30, one from the again, kind of like with, CR monitoring, if I can see one from the next and go, okay, I'm here and there, and that's.
I can draw a line between the two, yeah.
that's kind of, again, and where there are some kind of organic curves of specifically the wellness path in this location, you know, I think having, again, I don't see there being too much of a future. I mean, you beat my words. But, you know, I think, I do think probably.
Use their best judgment, but you know, typically it's
25, 50. I know another spot. I know it kind of again varies depending upon what changes of direction, things like that.
What if we, Matt, sorry, what if we like kind of go where the radius is, I'm gonna use the word generous, to your point where you can see them, we're more at the 25, but let's say right down by where we have that fitness equipment little node where there's a tighter radius, and it's important to keep that area closer to the path, maybe we have like an extra one there. So to your point, we use as a rule of thumb that 25, but if there's some tighter areas, just maybe we tighten that up just so that you feel like you guys are protected.
Yeah, I mean, and again, if there's longer stretches, again, kind of going back behind the other building, and I'm trying to go slowly so I don't completely, you know, those are all fairly straight line, you know, or at least proposed as straight line, you know. I don't know if we need those every 20, you know, I think that though could be, you know, spaced out a little bit more along those stretches.
In those areas, you put them at the corners and then spaced out maybe 50 feet apart,
You
something
know,
like that. yeah.
that would be kind of a 50,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
So each sign is visible to the, from the next.
So
Typically,
each posted,
yeah.
yeah.
Is it possible that we could write a condition like that, that they, you know?
If you want to propose a condition, I'd certainly, I mean, if I defer to the commission. If the commission wants it on a plan, I mean, again, if we
Yeah, I
are
want-
having a.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
wanna
we
see it
want
on
to
the
see it,
plan.
we want to see it on a plan. If there's language in a condition that says, you know, line of sight or whatever, but basically, in the general areas, we want to see where they are in terms of distance from the resource area, edge of the NOMO. But yeah, plans are what are given to contractors, not wordy documents.
Yeah, and we ask it of other applicants, it's pretty standard, so
Yeah.
I prefer to see it here as well.
I think we can do both, though. I think we can since we're gonna update the plans with the stamps anyway, we'll update the signage plan, we'll try to remove some of these other details so it's very clear where the signs are going. And then we can also mimic that condition of approval that the planning board has, that the agency is the final plan at building permit time at pre-construction meeting as well. So we'll do both. And then we can come back on the 10th and just make sure that the board is comfortable with the plan as the signage plan. Okay. And we'll make sure it's stamped.
Good with that, Matt?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question. And maybe you guys brought it up last week, but I noticed that the top section of the green banked parking spots are gone.
Yes.
Did you bring that up last week?
Yeah, we removed all the green bank parking up there because we've opened all the amenities to the public. So we needed more visitor parking spaces, so now the dog park, the play equipment, all of these amenity nodes will be open. So we got rid of all the we've added back in all the visitor parking spaces with the exception of those 8 spaces to the easterly side that are closer to the more sensitive areas of the wetlands. Those are the only ones we're still banking. So they've been put back in.
Yeah, right there.
And I think, it just, again, kind of bouncing back and forth, because we have the draft special conditions. There is a special condition number 64, kind of, again, where the scope of the green bank, where the extent of the green bank is included in the stormwater management calculations, you know, should they need to be installed, again, there's a degree of kind of approval for it to occur.
To that point too, we used some of it for snow storage initially. But I think you saw in your packet, there was lots of information about snow that was in response to planning board comments. So most of the snow removal has actually been removed out of that area. And you'll see there's a big block up front now where the snow removal area is. And just talking about the conditions of approval, one of your conditions of approval says that there shall be no snow storage areas on landscaped areas. But there is one caveat here, and again, I'm sorry, I'm directionally challenged, but in the northwest corner where Matt almost is, there's those pink areas that are curved in right there.
Yep.
Those two areas that are the end of the islands, we still have snow storage. That's in theory a landscape area. So if that condition remains, we would just have to exclude those two areas on the landscape island, because those are in theory in your resource area. Other than that, we're fine with that condition as drafted. The rest of the snow will all be on pavement.
Pavement.
Right, and again, as I drafted the special conditions, my eyes were primarily caught to these two snow storage areas adjacent to
Sure.
the easterly wetland resource and vernal pool, which, again, wanted to make sure that snow storage in those locations are staying on the pavement, not getting pushed further east into the resource area, or into the buffer or the resource area. Again, that's a fairly tight
Right.
It is, and then all
location.
those grades pitch from right to left.
Right.
And that basically terraces down, I think it's close to 8 or 9 feet.
Right.
By the time you go from that corner down to the building.
Right, it goes downhill towards the building.
So that was kind of my, again, we can certainly work language, again, it was more so those buffer areas, less the,
Yeah.
these.
The condition of approval is fine. We can comply with that, your standard condition, with the exception of those two C-shaped areas at the end of that landscape island. I know that you have a lot of snow storage information, so if you have any snow storage questions, please do ask. The only other thing I was going to suggest as a condition of approval that carries over from the planning board is that we have a suggested condition of approval in the planning board decision that says that the planning board will review the O&M. We're gonna have a specialty O&M for snow removal prior to building permit, so I think that condition should also come over into the Conservation Commission approval, especially where some of our snow storage areas are in your resource areas. So that was gonna be one of my suggested additional conditions. I know, I talked to Matt, we don't need all these conditions from the planning board to cross over, but where it makes sense, I think that it should be active. And that way, your agent can look at the O&M and make sure it complies with the rules prior to it going forward with the management plan.
Making me do.
I'm making Matt a lot more work at building permit time.
And there was a finding about porous pavement that needs to be removed?
Yep, yeah, if there's nothing kind of with respect to any other questions from the commission about plans, just because I presently have this up and.
You don't want to move it?
Yeah, move it, I'll mess it up again. One of the third or second full condition on the second page of the draft special conditions references porous pavement, that would be removed. Again, that was from the original submission, kind of as drafted. So that's
Any comments or questions from members of the commission?
You want to say that again, Matt? You sort of.
So
Table.
this porous pavement reference was from the original plan design. Subsequent revisions have removed it. So
Okay.
we didn't catch that in the
Okay.
sea of red.
Okay.
Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? No? So we'll be getting an updated plan set. Matt will be sending out an updated draft.
Stan?
Oh, yeah. Madam Chair, can I just ask one other question? There's a standard condition you have for as-built. So this is interesting only because I think our standard as-built conditions are assuming we have lots or homes or things that we can as-built and sell. But here we're gonna have one massive site. So in theory, our as-built will not be until it is as-built, which would be at the end, which I don't think is at, we generally do it in occupancy because we're dealing with construction on a smaller scale here in Westford. So I think perhaps we should rework that condition so that you're not asking for an as-built, but perhaps certification from the engineer at certain times that construction is being done in conformance with the order of conditions, and not relying on the as-built, which will be done much later in the project. So with the commission's approval, I would work on a condition like that with Matt to make sure that during construction, you're getting certifications and not just tying it to an as-built.
In terms of, so basically, we would be getting milestone
Certifications.
certifications.
Right.
Well, is there the possibility that, because they're two separate buildings, one gets built first and the other one gets built later?
Yes, we generally wouldn't have a final as-built till the construction is completed, because everything ties together. So I just don't want the commission to have an as-built at the end of the project when we're getting an occupancy and never get anything in the interim that things are being constructed properly. But I think we can address that with engineering certifications during constructions at certain benchmarks.
So Matt, you'll work with Matt, and Matt will identify what he and the commission would want to see at key points in time.
Correct, and then the civil engineer will have to certify to the commission that certain thresholds have been met. So that things don't get missed that we usually can pick up per house lot.
Yep.
We don't have that here. So I just want to make sure that there's a way of catch-all, because I don't think the as-built will be a perfect catch-all here for a large-scale project.
And this is number 70.
Yes, so we'll work, I will work with that on a condition to address that.
Any,
Sounds reasonable.
okay, me too.
And I think that was, we have no other questions or concerns, so we will work on that plan for the signage and make sure you get a stamped final plan and work on those conditions with Mr. Salem, and would just request that we go to your June 10th meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Planning board is drafting decisions.
Yes, and we're very hopeful that they will vote to approve it on Monday.
Okay. So so can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to June 10th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
So moving on to our 7:25 PM agenda item, the continuation of public hearing and issue order of conditions for Gross 50 Lawson Road.
I may start, so as part of the zoning board of appeals, granted a special permit at their meeting last Wednesday for this work, as volunteered by the applicant's representative. They included a couple conditions of, is this the conditions? Again, one with respect to the shed, relocating it so that it complies with zoning, and also the 30-foot commission no disturb setback. And then also,
The easterly property line.
you're right, staking the property line and in addition, there were abutter letters of signature and support from various abutting properties. In addition, a letter from an abutting property owner was received, again, kind of tied in with the petition. Just wanted, again, included it in the project record and for the commission to, it wasn't specifically sent to them, but it was, again, it talks about some of the conservation stuff, so wanted to include it and not be the arbiter of what does and doesn't go in the packet. If there's any questions, comments from commissioners on that. Again, drafted special conditions for review.
I have one question. We don't cover scenic views and vistas, but does the planning board take that into account?
The zoning board of
Or
appeals,
ZBA does?
there were no plan changes as required by the zoning board of appeals, correct?
Yeah, they all voted in favor of.
Okay, I was just curious if they
Yeah,
look at
name
that.
for your
I know
One
we
of
don't.
the- One of the guys said they've actually never based something off of a view.
Oh,
but-
okay.
And I don't know if you want to know, but that's a very misleading photo.
Well,
It's a
we don't-
zoomed
we don't have
in.
anything to
You
do
don't
with
need it, but it's all good.
And your name for the record, just.
Oh, I'm
for
sorry,
the
I'm
minutes.
Mike Gross, 50 Boston Road. Jumped right into that.
Yeah.
Before we get into the special conditions, are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? Okay. Special conditions.
So drafted special conditions, provided them to the applicants, and their team. There were no comments. Anything from members of the commission?
If there are no changes, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions? All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I did?
You good?
Thank you so much.
We'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Okay.
Matt warned me not to say anything though. So, thanks so much, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, it's continue public hearing and issue order of conditions for West Prescott Realty LLC, 35 West Prescott Street, Lot 3.
As I don't see the applicant's representative in attendance, can quickly just go over. Revised plan was provided, included was specifications, or calling out the riprap blanket, the catch basin that was required per engineering department review, which ties into the roof drain, which goes into the stormwater feature. And they've also clarified that the flagged edge is of bank and not of wetland, which was a little misleading and confusing. Also provided was the draft special conditions. I did not hear back from them. Maybe I did, I don't recall.
Do you want to continue this?
I mean, if there's no question, I mean, again, if
If we issue and close,
And,
Yeah,
and you haven't heard from them, and they.
I don't recall whether I didn't hear from them or they said. I can quickly check. Again, it's, I don't recall.
so while
You
you
would have
do-
thought that Jeff Brown would have been here for this.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience while we're waiting? No, okay.
Bear with me one moment.
Mhm.
Did not hear back from them, so, I mean, certainly can continue it to the commission's next meeting.
I feel better about that than closing it right now.
I would say
without
out of an
hearing
abundance
from the
of-
applicant,
Out of an abundance of caution,
yes.
we'll continue the public hearing to, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to June 10th?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to our 7:35 PM agenda item. It's a continuation of public hearing and issue order of conditions for Millet, 97 Groton Road.
Hi, Christine Millett, I'm the owner, and Brian with me.
For the record, Brian Melissi with Haley Ward.
We reviewed the order of conditions. I think I had one question, which I think you responded to, Matt, which was just on the building between December and April, which I heard all the commentary earlier. So we are good. Understood.
Are we gonna
I
do
had a
this
question.
again?
No, had a question on how that worked. I'm well versed now. So I think we were good from that. I don't know if Brian had anything else.
Yep, no, we read through it.
Okay. So, any comments or questions on the order from members of the commission?
One.
So I have one, it's just in the findings. It says the accessory dwelling unit will be served by a private well, its own private well.
We have an existing private well that we'll
So,
want to.
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's as opposed to public water, you know, a public.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. I didn't know if it was an existing that they were, or separate, or, but that's fine.
The plan doesn't depict that, show where the well is coming through. Yep.
Yeah, but a lot of times we look at the words,
I get it.
make sure they match the plan.
Yeah.
I get you, yep.
You've probably heard that too.
And just again, for the record, a couple of special conditions that were included. As this does not have a final approved septic plan, requiring that any changes to the septic plan be, that are required by the Board of Health, the revised plan shall be provided to the commission for review and approval. So if there's any deviation, we have kind of a check-in. And then also, an as-built be provided, quickly after installation to make sure that if it is to be located outside the buffer, it's, it was constructed and it's installed outside the buffer.
So, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Good night.
So moving on to our 7:40 PM agenda item, it's a request to hand pull water chestnuts and file notice of intent from the Friends of Forge Pond.
I can handle this as well. Members of the Friends of Forge Pond reached out a couple weeks ago. Some of their members who had kayaked up Beaver Brook towards the Littleton town line observed water chestnut, Latin name Trappist natans, growing in Littleton. Thankfully, water chestnut is a species that can be managed quite effectively with by hand pulling it. Volunteers and canoes and kayaks can do a good job. They've requested, as shown on the map, Beaver Brook passes over or through numerous properties under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. Prior to them filing, I thought it would be most appropriate to have the commission authorize either the chair or myself to sign the notice of intent. I have had conversations with the water department superintendent. Again, kind of the hatched areas here are water department land, and he is supportive of the hand pulling. The Friends of Forge Pond are seeking approval from the two large open space, subdivision open spaces. As again, there's a lot of, but in order to start the process with, filing with the state, filing with the commission, I'm seeking authorization to sign the notice of intent on the commission's behalf.
I have no questions.
That's fine.
Good.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? No. Okay, so can I have a motion to authorize either the chair or the commission's agent to sign the notice of intent application on behalf of the parcels under the commission's care and custody?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to our 7:45 PM agenda item, it's discuss and issue an enforcement order for Seal Harbor LLC, 6 Loon Way.
Can start. Included in the commission's meeting packet was the drafted enforcement order. 6 Loon Way, lot 8 of kind of that stretch of the Groton Road development, was before the Conservation Commission, seeking approval to install utilities within the existing way. I can't say if it's public or private. Between the Loon Way cul-de-sac and Groton Road, included as part of the drafted enforcement order was the approved plan of the request for determination of applicability. As shown on it, no work was proposed within the 100-foot buffer to the bordering vegetated wetlands or certified vernal pool. Conservation posts were proposed to demarcate that area. Recently, the builder sought a building permit in reviewing aerial imagery as included as part of the findings. Vegetation was removed within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetlands in the certified vernal pool. Last Thursday, met on site with the property owner, builder, their representative, or the civil engineer representing them, and the town planner. In terms of the 100-foot buffer was staked out at that time. Areas within that had been cleared, as noted during the request for determination of applicability public hearing. There was an area of historic landscape dumping on the subject property that branches, limbs, grass clippings, leaves, the sort, with which has been removed by the property owner as part of the development of the site. I issued a stop work as work had occurred within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetlands in the certified vernal pool, not in accordance with the approved plan, and drafted as per the included in the drafted order, ordered items to be performed to comply with. If the commission has any questions, I know the property owner is here as well, if they have anything to add.
I do.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Mark Gallagher from Seal Harbor. We've met before. Matthew's description is somewhat accurate. I was not here for the RDA. I had some medical issues, and I couldn't attend those hearings, or I should say the one time. However, you made a determination and allowed Loonway, we'll call it the Loonway extension for simple terms, to move forward, and that was last year. Within that scope, which was supported by the town, we're going to be removing the pavement from Route 40 all the way into the Loonway Circle. There were a series of permits that we were able to acquire, both from the planning board and from your board. We have stormwater permits, we have common driveway permits. As Matt has somewhat pointed out in this plan, you can see that the vast majority of the work is outside of the 100-foot buffer. You, as a board, made a determination that with the RDA that we could do work within the 100-foot buffer. And one of the things Matt said, envisioned in that is the replacement of the entire road. Envisioned with that is the extension of all the utilities, the construction of all of the shoulders on the sides of the road, removal of trees to allow the fire department to be able to go up and down safely, the police department, et cetera, et cetera. Matt also did touch on the fact that there was a historical dumping area on the very, very front, which essentially took up about 80% of that buffer. It not only had trash and brush and leaves, but it was a stump dump. And I have no idea how long it was there, but the prior owner told me it's been 20 years people have been, depositing their debris there, right in the front, within the 100-foot buffer. I don't believe, this is the first time I'm going to be argumentative, that the work that we did in preparation for doing all the work that I have described and you've approved under your RDA on the road negatively have affected in any way, shape, or form either the wetland or the vernal pool. We are down gradient from the vernal pool. We are down gradient from the wetland that surrounds it. The trash was 20 years, and the amount of, shall we say, vegetation was bamboo and scrub. It was not conducive to supporting the vernal pool. Also, within the RDA, as Matt described, we are allowed to do the utilities. Utilities are coming down through the 100-foot buffer, both for the water and for the power stretching down to the common driveway. So technically, I think we probably did clearly work within the 100-foot buffer. Did we do something that was not considered within the RDA? We were here. Everyone, I won't say that you knew, but I mean, everybody in the town, in terms of the leadership, was well aware that there was a dump in our front yard. Matt did stop us. We only have 2 signatures left. We have a Westford resident that has bought this house to be built here, and wants us to start. Our work, for the vast majority, or actually 99% of the work, is outside of your jurisdiction. However, we did, as Matt said, moved in. We removed all the trash. We took out and piled the stumps at the front that we dug up that were buried in the ground. As you know, under Massachusetts law, you cannot bury stumps. We were doing what we thought was right and creating a landing area to build what is going to be about 800 feet of road. We don't have any room on the right-hand side of the road because of the vernal pool and the wetlands to be able to have any stores. We have no room on the property that we don't own other than the front of that. So I understand the 100-foot buffer. I understand that we pierced that. However, I would submit to you that we did not do anything that is egregious to either the wetland or the vernal pool. Now, when we met out there last Thursday, I think it was last Thursday, was it, Matt? Yeah. Matt and I had a fairly interesting conversation, but at the end of the day, I am just trying to get my client their building permit. So I agreed that we would, Matt had written to us in one of his emails that, he was looking for restoration within the 100-foot area, within that circle, once the utilities go in, once the work is completed, to vegetate that area inside of where the signage is going to go with native vegetation that would be conducive to the vernal pool, which we've agreed to do. Happy to do it. Really, I think I did the right thing by removing the trash. I really thought that, and again, I wasn't here for the RDA, but with a 20-year history of dumping trash in that property and burying stuff, I thought I did the right thing. So, I promised the last time I wasn't going to come again, but unfortunately I broke my promise, and I apologize for that, but I really don't think that I did the wrong thing. I'm more than happy to vegetate it. I just want the building permit. We're outside of it. I honored Matt's request. I stopped work on the entire property. We moved our equipment out, but I want the building permit. I'm happy to revegetate. I told Matt if he wanted to provide us with a list of trees and shrubs that are conducive to the vernal habitat across the way, when we're all done, we'd be happy to replant. And you can make that a condition of, prior to our getting our occupancy would be fine. We want to finish. We want to repair the road as we have agreed to do, move in there and do the work. So I think this is the first time I've actually differed from Matt's opinion on this, but in general, I don't really think we did the wrong thing, but I'm here.
Any members of the commission have any questions?
Are you okay with the 5 orders for for repair?
The 5 items
1, 2,
under
3,
the,
4, and 5?
I believe, we're going to restore it.
Are you okay with those?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's a friendly enforcement order.
well, and I guess part of me, and I tend to get into the detail, what it was not clear to me is, can you go back to the RDA plan? So, so there's talk about removing a vegetation, and from looking at the aerial shots, it wasn't clear to me whether it was only on the 6 Loon Way side of the roadway, or also, was there any vegetation removed between the roadway and the resource area itself?
No.
No, okay.
No
and it
one
just-
over there.
Yeah, and,
I believe the RDA allows us to do that because the design of the road, which was agreed upon by the engineering staff, et cetera, it calls for the shoulders of the road to be pushed
Right,
back.
but it
We
just-
didn't do any of that work, no.
yeah, but it just.
All we did was
inter-
work on this side.
Yeah, but that was a clarification I was looking.
I'm sorry, yep,
So, now, were the erosion controls in place?
no.
No.
Okay. Were the erosion, I'm assuming it was a conditional negative determination, and one of the conditions would have been that erosion controls were installed.
Yes, again, the request for determination of applicability was solely for the work within the Loonway extension, for
Okay.
a better term.
But a lot of times, it just, if the erosion control is in there, and we get a horrendous rainstorm, then, at least we know that if there's been ground disturbance, the resource area is protected.
Madam Chair, the erosion controls in that plan are 5 feet above the road. There's not a prayer
Okay,
that any kind of erosion can occur towards that vernal pool.
so looking at a 2-dimensional plan is deceiving.
I know. There's a large berm that runs down the whole right-hand side of that road where that is shown. And I'm assuming they kicked the berm up when they built the road back, sometime in the 1800s is my understanding.
Okay.
So, no.
And I guess looking at the plan, it looks like there's an existing tree line, so that it gives the impression of a vegetated buffer between the building site and the roadway.
There was a large, Matt has a picture. There was, the dumping area took up
Okay,
a lot of that area. There was a large, in the photos when we went over with Matt, up on the far left-hand side, there's some tree cover where we put where the common driveway's going in.
Right, so this is the area of dumping.
Yeah.
Again, this was, mature vegetation
Yep.
that was present in September and was, removed.
so that would have been the bamboo you were
No,
talking.
there was probably a tree there.
Okay, so,
There's 2 different, what's deceiving about this a little bit is you have 2 different heights that this was taken at. And I mean, it's very clear where the common driveway is going in. That's a screening plant that's outside of the vegetated wetland, the buffer. And that excavator is outside the buffer. The day that they took that photo on the right, we were screening loam from the other site, Lot 7, and stockpiling inside Lot 7 for future vegetation. We had already cleaned the area, so if you see that on the right-hand side, the yellow piece of equipment.
there's,
Oh, this thing right here.
yeah,
Look at the red button.
If I'm colorblind, which one would it be?
Second one down,
On the left-hand side?
on the top, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you green colorblind too, or?
oh, it's bouncing around yeah, okay.
Do you want green?
There it is.
Can you see green?
They're the best I can see. I'm colorblind, so I really can't see many colors, but.
I mean, if
You
you're-
see where the arrow is right there?
Yep.
That's a screener. The area in front of that is the the buffer that Matt's talking about. And that's approximately, where all of the dumping had occurred. You can see the stump pile that we dug up, which is right below, yeah, exactly, right in front of that arrow now. That's where the stump pile sits. And we dug all those stumps from underground to the trash pile. And we were about to take them out when Matt sent me his first love letter and said to stop on a Friday afternoon, so we stopped.
Okay, so
Thank you.
where we got.
There you go. Thanks.
And we have an enforcement order with a list of actions to be taken.
Yep.
Commissioners,
I'm okay with those, and so is the.
I would just one comment, as I think it was maybe you volunteered it, that restoration shall be completed prior to the issuance of occupancy.
Yeah, I did volunteer that.
any other,
What is it, Matt? What were you saying?
That the restoration shall be completed prior to the issuance of occupancy
On Lot 8.
for this lot. So,
so that,
prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy,
Well,
restoration.
You want to add
so
that in.
that the first order is going to be amended that restoration shall, prior to issuance
Oh,
of
okay.
occupancy, restoration shall include.
Yes.
Got it, he wants to add that in, fine, good.
That way you get your hook.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion to issue the
Enforcement order as amended.
So can I have a motion to issue the enforcement order as amended?
So moved.
Can I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Okay,
Be in touch.
You'll sign off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Don't come in at 8 o'clock.
I'm not gonna promise, I'm not gonna be back. Breaking my promises.
actually, you know what, but it's just, you think you want to do something, sometimes a phone call can save a lot of grief and aggravation.
Yeah, you're not telling me something. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
So moving on to our 7:55 PM agenda item, it's discuss and issue an enforcement order for Rodriguez, 12 Patton Road.
So this, a certificate of occupancy came to the building department, and Sierra and I sent notice to the property owner back in December that they had an outstanding order of conditions issued, I think, 2013 timeframe. As in reviewing aerial imagery of the property, so kind of zooming in 2016, erosion control was installed, a limit of work was being maintained. My predecessor in the end of 2016 sent a letter to the property owner saying that the work that the order of conditions was no longer valid as it had expired and no work was to occur. Using for little illustrative purposes, in July of 2022, again, kind of the line being the same line that was demarcated in the first photo, shows areas outside the limit of work, in addition to additional activity and alteration within the limit of work. And lastly, in 2025, again, kind of the area that had been previously altered was still remaining, and additional stuff, for lack of a better term, was observed outside the erosion controls, the wetland resource areas down here to the south and bottom of the photo. Following, I think, a order from the health department, the property was cleaned up. I was not aware of that order. And presently in April of 2016, areas to the rear of the dwelling, altered areas between the dwelling and the resource area, and again, kind of the same limit of work being transposed, appeared to have been graded, stabilized, area.
I really
Structure.
have a hard time telling what's changed in between, I know this is quite a time frame. but-
Right, so from April 25 to April 26,
Yeah.
they removed this area of, again, I think it was a
just ground cover?
I think it was gardens, to be honest.
It was what?
Gardens. Again, kind of going back, there's, rows of stuff and,
So planting beds and such.
yeah.
Interesting.
And again, sheds and whatnot beyond the limit of work. Again, the wetland is down here to the plant south, or plant bottom, or photo bottom. Again,
The shed I saw.
yeah, right, and again, and so this is kind of my, they're seeking occupancy. In reviewing and kind of, again, following up from the items ordered, a split rail fence at the limit of work, or 50-foot buffer, again, I'm kind of, in reviewing the order of conditions, one of the special conditions was that conservation posts be installed. Those haven't been installed, and that occupancy not be issued from our department prior to their installation. So in order to get, the existing property owner is selling the property, they're going to need a certificate of compliance. They also need to get occupancy. Presently, in terms of, they need to install a, conservation post, a limit of work. Additionally, as part of the order of conditions that hadn't been completely complied with, language needs to be added to purchase and sales and deeds, and an as-built plan needs to be provided. So as a first step, this was provided to, Helton Rodriguez was the contractor who was hired by the property owner to do the work. So that's why it's being issued to both parties, the property owner and the contractor doing work. In sending this draft to them, he reviewed it and said, I will get on doing that. So,
So you got to reply that they're already going to work it.
mhm,
They're already going to work it.
yes,
You're 501.
So we just
Yeah.
need to issue it.
yep,
Okay, good.
When did you get from them?
this afternoon.
Oh,
Yeah.
So we just need to issue it.
Yeah, so if there's no changes
I
or,
don't see anything in the orders about the area between the house and the
I
pink
mean,
line.
outside the, oh,
so again, that area was proposed to be lawn, it was more that alterations occurred in, say, this area southerly of the house after the order of conditions had expired.
Okay,
So,
all right.
you know.
And the other one, the shed, is obvious where it was, now it's gone.
Right, so let's put in markers at that, the limit of work,
Okay.
50 foot, no disturb, and let's move it along. Again, they have a bunch of things they need to comply with, so if there's any other questions from the commission, be happy to.
so can I have a motion to issue the enforcement order?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to our 8:05 PM agenda item.
We should have two enforcement orders coming around.
Yeah, no, I just realized that I hadn't
sent
anything along.
Just haven't seen them yet. that's all.
Yeah, no, you were.
Okay.
So, okay, so, the 8:05 PM agenda item is interviews with residents seeking appointment to the Conservation Commission. That's 3 existing commission members who would like to be reappointed, and also Catherine McGee, who had expressed interest in being on the Conservation Commission. So we're going to do the interview process for all 4 of us. And one of the things, so I had sent out an email, BCC, to everybody over the weekend saying to kind of streamline this a little bit, since Eric, Jim, and I will be interviewed. My thought had been for, another member of the commission to basically be the moderator for the interview process. Greet each interviewee, explain that we're gonna ask questions, and then start the interview with people around the table asking the questions. If people have had a thought about, if somebody is interested, if a member of the commission is interested in being the moderator for the interview process, that's great. If not, Matt is available as a fallback option, no offense. This is the first time we've seen this type of a process. We are under a tight timeline because on May 14th, there was an email sent out that said all requests to consider, all requests to have specific individuals considered for appointment had to be submitted no later than May 28th, which is tomorrow. So we basically have to do the
Interview
interviews.
and make determination.
And have our discussion and decide on our requests tonight. So this is the first time through this. This is giving it the best effort that we can. Yeah.
I'd say let Matt be the moderator.
Ah, sweet, I love being a game show host. Come on down.
So,
provided to the commissions or the questions, again, if, as we're gonna have members coming and going, it may just be go around the circle
Yeah,
and ask the
just
next
do it
one.
that way,
Yeah.
for consistency.
Yeah, just,
and so, yeah, so,
And we're really warm and nice and welcoming, so don't panic.
yeah, and it just, is work.
Our rules are changing faster than we can keep up with them.
so if I kind of welcome, thank you for joining. If you just state your name for our minutes taker record and your address, and then we can kind of get started with the questions.
Catherine McGee, 24 Cold Spring Road.
You can just, that's more for the minutes taker.
Oh,
It'll pick-
okay.
yeah, you don't have to.
That's also, that's the way, yeah, these mics all connect to Westford Cable Access TV. They don't help us hear any better.
So,
great.
thank you for coming. If you could give a brief background about yourself and why you'd like to be on the commission.
Yes, so we moved to Westford, my family and I were from Massachusetts, but we moved to Westford 4 years ago. And I've been going to the town meetings and being involved that way. And but as we're getting our feet in the door, and my kids are now kind of in elementary school, I feel like I have a little bit more capacity to be more involved with the town. And so this commission is where I have the most expertise. And so this is why I chose to apply to the commission. My entire career has been in conservation. I'm applying to this as a member of this town, just for ethical reasons. I am a public servant, so just want to get that out there. But so I worked for DCR as a forester after college. I have a dual degree, animal science and environmental science from the University of Maryland. I have a master's in business administration from University of Massachusetts, Amherst. And so I worked for DCR for 3 years after college as a forester. And then I went on to work for USDA, a Natural Resource Conservation Service, which I've worked for since 2013. I've been involved in state leadership there for the last 5 years. And so I'm very technically savvy in conservation. I worked myself up from writing conservation plans, delineating wetlands, into now I lead, all the ecological parts of the state. I direct that and the teams in Massachusetts. I lead the water quality, NEPA compliance, wetland compliance, and pretty much. And also, I watch or listen to the meetings on my way to work that Westford Cat
posts. And so your last meeting, you were talking about East Boston camps and how no one on the commission had expertise in maybe sort of the business management part of it, that side. And that's something that I think I could bring to this commission. I've managed over $100 million budgets at a state level. I manage the field operations in Massachusetts, leasing for our 8 offices, and the kind of jack of all trades, and they kind of move me around where is needed. But so just, you know, I have that conservation technical side, but I also have that efficiency and trying to get, you know, look long-term planning. I can help with that master plan for East Boston camps. I know that there's a task force working on that, and I could help as being a person on the commission to be involved in that task force and lead in that way as well. So just kind of both sides. So anyways, that's a little bit about me, just trying to, you know, help the community get more involved. As you know, my family is now getting a little bit more stable in school, and just want to help where I can.
Are we gonna blame this? Your way or my way?
Well, yes, do we want to go clockwise or counterclockwise?
Let's go clockwise, it's easy to remember.
Okay. So thank you. So, second question, are you focused on details or certain areas, or do you look at the big picture?
Definitely a big picture person. Yeah. So I'm the person on our leadership team that they like say is, you know, kind of they'll say, well, Catherine's unicorn ideas. Like, I like brainstorming. I like, you know, thinking out of the box. And I'll just come up with ideas in there, and, you know, just to start conversation. So that's kind of what I bring to the table. But big picture, I'm always looking down the road. Not like, yeah, we have to have a short-term plan, but we need to look down the road too. So, yes.
Are you currently working now?
Yes. Yeah.
Where is that?
I work for the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, and my technical title is State Resource Conservationist.
So you got the third question.
The question's not on the list.
No, let her ask her
I
question.
thought she asked.
No, that wasn't the.
That was a different question.
That was just her own question.
Just because I'm old.
Ask this question. Number
No, you
3.
already took one.
Number 3.
Okay. What can you tell us about the Wetlands Protection Act with a local wetlands bylaw? Do you have any idea about ours?
Yes. So the Wetlands Protection Act states that you cannot degrade or build within 100 feet of a wetland or within 200 feet of a stream. A wetland would be considered, to be considered a wetland, you have to have hydrophytic vegetation, hydric soils, and you need to have wetland hydrology. 50% of our wetlands have been degraded in the US, and they're very important. We call them the kidneys of our ecosystem. They filter everything. They're really important. I know, like, sometimes people say, like, wetland's a bad word, but, like, to us in conservation, it's really important for us for, you know, water quality, storm treatment, or storm prevention, erosion control. So also wildlife habitat, a third of our birds need wetlands for habitat and food. So for the wetlands bylaw for Westford, we just kind of clarify what like degradation means a little bit more. And so it just says, well, you can't put a septic within 100 feet, or you can't put you know, pesticides or chemicals, things like that, that could degrade the wetland. So it's just a little bit more clarification on that Wetland Preservation Act.
Okay, I can ask my question?
Sure.
If you're to receive a plan for, let's say, a new house on an empty lot, what are some of the first things you'd look at in evaluating the project?
well, you look first to see, are there wetlands on the project site? Are there vernal pools on the project site? So you're gonna look for what the resources are, there streams, water bodies, what the resources are. And then from that, you'll have to do a determination on the boundaries and then figure out how far there might be setbacks for that. So you're looking at the site in general, the topography, what natural elements you have, if there's any threatened or endangered species, you have to do, NEPA compliance there, you have to look for cultural resources. So there's a lot of items to consider when you're looking at a building site, starting from scratch.
All right, thank you.
Question 5, because she already answered question 4.
Can you talk louder?
I'm going to question 5 because she already answered question 4. How would you try to balance the interests of property owners and their rights to do what they want on their property with the restrictions on it from the WPA and local bylaw?
Yeah, so, I mean, we don't want to be, we don't want to just say no to people. So we have to kind of look at the big picture and see, well, what are the bylaws? And then is there some flexibility, right? So, like today when I was sitting in the, back there, and we were talking about, folks were talking about the path, and I was thinking, okay, yeah, well, maybe we don't want to have a gravel path or a paved path, but is there an option, like what is currently, if people are really walking on this path, is there erosion on that path currently? And then if there is erosion, is that now putting sediment into the water body? So could we make it better? Could we compromise? Can we put maybe a wood chip path so that you're still getting filtration down there, but you're not getting the sediment into the water? So like, is there kind of that in-between compromise that we can have with the citizens so that they're happy, and then we also make sure that we protect our resources?
I think you answered some of the next question in that one too. In your experience, what is the most valuable attribute in working with people to help bring groups to agreement, consensus?
So when I used to work in the field, right, and the agency I work for is voluntary, it's not a regulatory agency. And so it's voluntary conservation. You're working with private landowners, you're working with farmers, forest landowners, that you're trying to convince them to do things that, are better for the environment, because most of the land in the US is privately owned. And so what you have to do is you have to figure out what is it that what's their goal, and try to work your goal into their goal. So if someone really likes fishing, like, okay, well, if we put some riparian buffer along the stream, then we're going to make the water cooler, and you're going to have more, fish, trout. You might have some other fish that come in. You're going to have better fishing there on your property. But we're also getting what we want. We're having the buffer. So it's that compromise, like I was saying before, in like what do you want, what do we want, and how do we meet in the middle?
Okay. So most of the commissioners have taken training courses provided by the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions. Have you taken any, or are you willing to participate in some of these courses?
Yes, I can participate in the courses. We work. In my professional life, I work directly with MACD.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly, do you have the ability to give the type of time it takes to be a commission member outside of the ever-growing length of meetings? Again, there are occasional site visits to projects during application process, or to volunteer on other boards and committees within the town with which the commission has representatives on.
Yes. Yep, I am willing to serve.
Is there anything else that you would like to just share with the commission before?
Or anything you'd like to ask us?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, so I mean, when I applied to this because, You know, I was sitting in the town meeting and they keep, you know, every year they say, oh, well, you know, volunteer and be part of a commission or a committee. And so I did that, and I didn't understand that I don't, like, I didn't understand that it was full, and so I don't want to be, you know, in competition for a spot. So I don't know if there's another is there an option for, I don't want to push someone, like, you know, like.
It's the awkward situation.
Yeah.
This is the first time where existing members who want to be reappointed still have to interview. And one of the things the select board had said is that they also wanted us to reach out to everybody who had submitted a volunteer activity form in the last 2 years. So like when Noelle was elected to the select board and she resigned from the commission, we had interviews. Lauren and another member of the community were both interested, and Lauren was appointed by the select board. We still went back to June and said, you know, we're interviewing, would you be interested again? So it's not a once and done thing. But yes, I think it's as awkward for us, you know, having to say, there's 3 openings, there's 4 people who want them.
Yeah.
But it's just, we appreciate the opportunity to get to know you and find out about your background and your interests.
Okay, thank you.
And it's a strong background.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Very much
I
so,
mean,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, thrilled that you're interested. Yeah, continue to be interested. I can't, you know, most of us didn't become commission members the first time we applied to be a member of the commission. I certainly wasn't, and, you know, I gotta think I'm Westford's longest serving, commission member, but, you know, your desire to help the town in the best way possible, outstanding, outstanding.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And
Very much so.
regardless of what happens this evening, you know, please.
Well,
I mean,
And you never
Yeah.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, and
life is
with-
funny too. You just don't always know in terms of things that come
Well,
up
like
and
with
change.
the task force for East Boston camps with the open space, assuming they go with an open space and recreation plan implementation committee, those committees will be looking for representation from the commission, but they're also looking for at-large members of the public. So even if you didn't get appointed this time, those boards, you know, with your background, your experience, those boards would be glad to have you just as a member of the public, so.
And then if a commission member decides, well, you know, I can't fulfill my obligation to serve out my term, you know, we've had that.
Well, and even this time next year, there's somebody, you know, it's every year, at least one person's term is expiring. So somebody may say, you know what, I've done my years, there's
Yeah.
great candidates out there, I'd like to, make a seat available for them. So I was another one. The first time, I was the commission's unanimous recommendation to the select board. The select board said, no, we're appointing somebody else.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh,
And they ultimately have, so even if, you know, we make a recommendation to the selectmen, they're the appointing authority.
Yeah. And the person, Christie, who was appointed, she was a very valuable member of the commission. She brought a lot of assets. So she was a really good candidate as well. So it's, you know,
It happens,
it happens.
it does.
yeah.
But thrill.
Now you get to listen to the other 3 of us
Yeah.
answer the same questions.
So any other questions for us about process, or
No, I guess.
what did you think about tonight? It's the first time I've seen you in the audience.
Yeah, no, that's because I listen.
Granted,
I listen online rather than come
We
in.
tend to go beyond our, you know, God, what is it, 8:02 p.m. and yeah, it's 9:30, so yeah, we're a little bit behind, and a lot of times we're a little bit behind.
Yeah.
You know, we try to do effective, you know, run an effective meeting, and time management's critical, but you still have to provide an opportunity for people to have their say. So it is what it is, you know.
Well, and,
It's-
and also, if we actually were really good at our time management and we finished a discussion before the clock ticks the next, we can't start talking about something ahead of its scheduled time as
Although
well.
we can jump into discussion items and clean them up, but still.
Well, yeah.
There is that.
There is that.
There is that.
Yeah.
Yes, but yes, it's a balance.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it was interesting today, listening to the different ones, and so, yeah, some I thought there was a lot of back and forth, but some I just thought, you know, like the last one, with the vernal pool, I had a lot of questions too, but we didn't need to get to the questions because they'd agreed to
Yeah.
fixing it, and it's like, okay, it doesn't matter if,
And like you say, if that's
you
the
removed
goal.
a stump from a wetland, because you're gonna fix it. So it was interesting. But yeah, it's past my bedtime.
Thank you again. If you have any questions, again, you're more than welcome to stay and watch.
Yeah, yeah,
Kind of hear kind of the three other commission seeking appointment, residents seeking appointment with the Conservation Commission and hearing kind of their backgrounds and everything.
Yeah,
It's certainly interesting. And again, in my 5 years staffing the commission, it's always interesting to kind of learn people's backgrounds.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the
Hope we
opportunity.
see you again.
Yeah.
True.
So,
We'll certainly have you on our A list.
So I'm the next,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm gonna take your hot seat.
Oh,
there.
okay.
Take the-
Yeah.
And this is just in alphabetical order. It's not because I like Eric the most, although there are times where I like Eric the most.
Hey, Eric.
Thank
This
you
is a
for-
different chair, it's a different seat.
If you'd like, you can take one.
No, this is all good.
Thank you for, again, filling out the volunteer activity form. If you can give a brief background on yourself and why you'd like to be on the commission.
Sure. Eric Foley, 9 Longside 4 Pond Road. Been on the commission since 1994. Love serving the community. I too believe I'm serving the community in the best way that I can with the expertise that I have. I have a bachelor's degree in geology with a concentration in chemistry. I have a master's degree in geology with an emphasis of hydrogeology. Out of grad school, I was working with EPA Region 1 on doing emergency response and Superfund removal. So I did the emergency response, and then you'd go out to a site, and it could have drums, it could have any type of waste. And when you do a Superfund removal, you remove everything down to the groundwater, and then it becomes a remedial effort. After that, I worked for Westinghouse. From Westinghouse, I started working for the Massachusetts Department of, excuse me, I worked for the Mass DEP. So I've started working for the Mass DEP since 1992. I was their lead hydrogeologist for the solid waste group working on the Central Artery Project. After about 8 years working as their senior hydrogeologist, I started working with financial securities for the Commonwealth for Mass DEP. So if you have a landfill or a hazardous waste site or an underground storage tank or a facility that might need to do repair and replacement of an engineered barrier, you have to put up a financial security with the Commonwealth. So if the owner fails to cure an issue, if they go bankrupt, if they fail to maintain a legal corporate existence, if they fail to maintain that financial security, I, on behalf of the Commonwealth, would draw on that financial security and park the funds into a trust where the Mass DEP would effectuate a cleanup of that facility. And I have done that for the last 25 years until I recently retired in January, subsequent to which I was rehired by the state to continue to administer and maintain those financial securities for the Commonwealth. So that's why I'm here and what I can bring to the commission.
Number two, question number two.
I'm sorry?
Question number two.
No one has given me a sheet. Other than that, I'm in good shape. Sorry about that. Okay. Are you focused on details, certain areas, or do you like to look at the big picture?
In my work, I do both. You know, I'm a big picture person where, you know, you look at a site in its totality, a project, and then, you know, you kind of, like, let's say if I was doing landfill assessment and closure, I would look at the landfill. I would look at what it needs to go through a successful closure and post-closure monitoring, which is typically for a 30-year period. So you look at the facility, you look at what's being proposed for, let's say, post-closure O&M, monitoring and maintenance. You look at the costs associated with that, but you also want to break down those costs, and that's where it gets very detail-oriented. Are they looking at the right analytical? Are they doing it over the right frequency, you know, semi-annual, quarterly, annual? You look at what's being proposed, you look at the dollar amount, you come to an agreement with the owner on the dollar amount, and then to put together a financial security, which would be like a financial instrument or in a trust or standby. That's very detail-oriented. And it's usually a third part, you know, it's a three-party agreement, gets signed by all three parties, trustee, the applicant, and the Commonwealth. And so, you know, it's a combination of both big picture and detail-oriented. So I do both.
If you're creating a project before us of a residential home on a vacant lot, what are the first few things you would look at in evaluating the proposed project? And
Well,
briefly,
sure. I mean, first thing, if it's before us, it's within our jurisdiction.
Great.
So typically, it's within 100 feet of wetlands, or it could be upwards of, you know, 200 feet of a perennial stream, you know, but for one reason or another, it falls within our jurisdiction, so I want to locate what the resource areas are, see what's being proposed, see if there are any issues. Typically we have standards where we're a 30-foot no disturb, a 55-foot no build. We'd like to see 75 feet from the wetland to the resource area to the structure, 100 feet from the resource area to the leaching field and any parts of the septic system. So I look at that to see if there are any constraints that we're running up against, and see if there are any ways that, you know, is this maximum feasible compliance? Is there a way that we can better protect the wetlands by moving certain things further away from the wetlands? Trying to minimize adverse impacts to the extent that we can.
All right, thank you.
What can you tell us about the Wetlands Protection Act or the local wetlands bylaw?
The Wetlands Protection Act, and we talk about it every night, you know, it's Chapter 31, you know, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act, which is 310 CMR 10. So what they do is there are certain interests that, you know, we as commission members are supposed to protect. Groundwater, private drinking water, flood storage, stormwater retention, you know, wetlands, or not wetlands, but like wildlife protection. So there are interests under the act that we're trying to protect. When you look at the local wetlands bylaw, it goes further than that. So we're actually further restrictive in our local wetlands bylaw in that it gives us the ability to, let's say, we could look beyond 100 feet. And if something is going to have an impact beyond 100 feet, if we think that even beyond 100 feet, it might have an impact to a resource area, we could have jurisdiction over that. Our local wetlands bylaw gives us the ability to issue fines. It allows us to look at other areas that may not be protected under the Wetlands Protection Act, like a wet meadow. So it's further restrictive in that sense. Great.
How would you try to balance the interests of property owners and their rights to do what they want to do on their property with the restrictions on it from the Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw?
I think we try to balance that every time we have, one of our legal hearings. Somebody comes in and they want to do something, and we're looking at what they're posing and what are the impacts going to be, if any. And if there are impacts, are they significant? Are they smaller? But are they, is it still an adverse impact? And, our local wetlands bylaw says we really have to be looking at significant and cumulative adverse impacts. So to the extent, and yes, at the end of the day, we all want to reach agreement on, I don't want to have to deny anybody under the Wetlands Protection Act or our local wetlands bylaw. So, I think we do our best to accommodate interests. I think sometimes the proposals that come into us, an applicant is seeking more than we can provide and still provide protection to the resource areas and to the buffer zones. And we work with the applicants to try to find areas to provide greater relief. And I think we do a very good job at that. I think the commission prides itself in being able to come to an agreement with applicants, because I can remember very few times where we've had to deny under the Wetlands Protection Act or our local wetlands bylaw. And even when we've had denied, it's pretty much not under the Wetlands Protection Act. It's under our local wetlands bylaw, which is stricter.
In your experience, what is the most valuable attribute in working with people to help bring groups to agreement?
I would say the first is patience. You've got to sit down with folks and you really want to hear them out, and you've got to be patient. And so I see patience as being something extremely important. You've got to be focused. You also have to see it from the perspective of the other individual. And I try to put myself in other shoes every day and say, okay, I see how they're looking at this, and I see what the drivers are that's trying to lead them, and why we're seeing an application the way we see it. I think we do a great job about, trying to bring it all together. But, I think patience and listening is very important. And, being open-minded and not closed-minded is important. And there's, listening to all the information that's presented so you can make the best determination.
Most of the commissioners have taken courses from the MACC. Are you willing to participate in the courses?
Have taken some, and have actually done a course there, provided a course on time management, running an effective commission meeting. So I had the opportunity to do that, and that was a lot of fun. And just like tonight, you'd be surprised how quickly, the time flies by, and all of a sudden you should be at your 8 o'clock agenda item, and it's like 9:30, 9:45. So, running an effective meeting is very important, but I do have the time. I haven't taken all of the courses.
So there's one, so,
Marilyn?
Again?
the last question. Yeah, because now we've got one person out of the asking questions rotation.
Okay, do you have the ability to give the type of time it takes to be a commission member?
I do. I have for the last 32 years when I was fully employed.
How many years are you on?
It's gonna, I think 31 in June, or 32 in June. I have more time than I had then. So yes, I clearly have the time. I clearly have the desire.
You're a key.
The community is a very special place. I mean, the town of Westford, when you look at all the different committees and boards and all that we do for the betterment of the community, it's really special. And it's really an honor and a privilege to be able to serve. And I'd like to continue.
Is there anything else you'd like to share, or any questions for the? I don't know. You could have questions from being on that side. You know,
I think we do a fine job. You know, I really, I understand what it takes to be a commission member, having been a chair for nearly 20 years. You know, and I'm so thankful that Margaret's sitting in that spot right now and taking the phone calls and everything extra that goes with it, because there's so much more. Yet if she needs to step away, I can step into that, chair position and run a meeting and do what's necessary. But, I think that every commission member brings a lot to the table, and I think that every commission member needs to be, because collectively we're strong as a team. And I really do believe that we serve the community well. We serve our applicants fairly, and I know we strive to be fair and consistent in the way we render our determinations. And that's extremely important. You don't want to be arbitrary and capricious. A lot of times it's hard for us to, you don't want to provide a special accommodation, because then, the next applicant is going to seek similar accommodation. So to the extent possible, we try to hold true and treat every member the same. And that's important, that every applicant gets a fair opportunity to present their project, and that they get the same type of representation from the commission and how we respond to them and render our determination.
It's nice that we get to learn a little bit more about you and your background.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I thank you very much for the opportunity to seek reappointment to the commission, and thank you.
Do you remember that you found me? I don't have your background. I said, do you remember that you found me?
Yes, I do.
It's so funny. Exact opposite, 24 years ago.
Good evening.
It's another keeper.
It's late.
Thanks for submitting the volunteer activity form, expressing interest in seeking reappointment with the commission. Firstly, if you can just give a brief background on yourself and why you would like to continue to serve on the commission.
All right, I'm a Westford blow-in, 36 years. I've been on the commission for 15 years, and I've really been enjoying it, especially of late. My background applicable to the commission work is a bachelor's degree in physical sciences, and I have 2 master's degrees, but only one of them is really applicable. It's a mechanical engineering degree with a focus on environmental science. Anyway, I decided years ago when the town bought the biggest piece of conservation land around the East Boston camps, I decided that was when I wanted to get involved in the Conservation Commission's work. And besides that, my educational background, that directly applies to improving the environment of the town. It makes it a better place to live for everybody, including the animals, the plants, and I think we do a pretty good job of that.
Okay. Jim, are you focused on details? or certain areas, or do you look at the big picture?
Well, I think you have to start with the big picture and then focus in on the smaller details as you go farther along. For example, the question that I've been asking about, what do you do first when you get a project before you? I think you look at the big picture first. Do you have jurisdiction? Are they in the right venue? Should they be with the planning board, or are we the right people for them to be talking to? And then work from there down to the lower details like we were today about where exactly the snow removal signs are gonna go, or where the snow storage signs go. So you gotta do both.
Thank you.
Jen, in your experience, what is the most valuable attribute in working with people to help bring groups to agreement?
I think you gotta be fair to all parties, and we are. We try to be very consistent when we have people come to us with similar issues, similar problems on different projects. We bring that up. In fact, we let them know the reason we're doing this is first it improves the environment through A, B, C, whatever, but it also is fair because we've done the same thing with other people that have come before us, whether it was a certain distance of building from the lake or moving a shed to get out of a buffer zone, those kind of things.
I was going to ask you your question, but you already answered your question. So what can you tell us about the Wetlands Protection Act or the local wetlands bylaw?
Well, both of them apply. You start with the Wetlands Protection Act. That's from early 70s, like 72, 73, something like that. But our town bylaw, which was put in place, I think, in 87 or so, is similar in the way it's worded, but it's much more detailed, much more strict in terms of the distances and the limitations. For example, as Eric had mentioned, it's 55 feet in the Wetlands Protection Act for no building inside 55 feet, whereas in our bylaw, it's 100 feet, and it puts the onus on the applicant to prove that whatever they're proposing will not have a negative impact on the environment. So the Wetlands Protection Act is good in and of itself, but the town's bylaw is stricter and gives us a lot of flexibility, and which we use. That's another way to be fair to people. To try to be fair, you don't come down like a ton of bricks with the regulations. You do what's necessary to improve the environment and understand make sure that people understand why you're doing it and what its benefit and why they're being required to move the shed. Why do they have to stay out of this distance? So it helps us all.
Some of this you've answered too already. How would you try to balance the interests of property owners and their rights to do what they want to do on their property with the restrictions on it from the Wetland Protection Law, Wetland Protection Act, and the local bylaw?
Well, part of it's education. If they don't necessarily understand why you're doing certain things, then it seems kind of arbitrary to them. So I think part of what you do when you're trying to get somebody to move towards your way of your approach in the approval of a project, you explain to them why it's beneficial to them and why it's beneficial to their neighbors, and why if the same project was being proposed by a neighbor, why we would make the neighbor do the same thing, which would improve this person's lot in life too.
In your experience, what is the most valuable attribute in working with people to help bring groups to agreement?
I have to repeat again, fairness and consistency. If you're consistent with everybody, no one can be pointing at someone else and saying, you didn't make them do this, so you're making me do it. How come you're picking on me? We don't want to be looking like we're picking on anybody. We're trying to make the environment good for everyone and treat everybody fairly.
Most of the commissioners have taken MACC training courses. Are you willing to participate in some of these?
When I first signed up and was appointed to the commission, I decided I was going to take those courses, and they were well worth it. I took the whole series of them and completed I think there were 8 of them at the time. Mm-hmm. They've increased the number now. But there are some good ones in there that I was used to working with blueprints and plans in my job as a radar engineer, but I didn't have anything about erosion control barriers and how you build them and how you put them in, and they had a whole class on that kind of stuff, so it was well worth it. I was glad I took it. I took the whole series of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Jim, do you have the ability to give the type of time it takes to be a commission member?
Yes, I do. I don't think I've missed maybe 1 or 2 meetings in the 15 years, and I don't know that I've ever missed a site visit, at least not that I can remember. And they're important to go to, so you get a real sense of how a project looks in real life as opposed to on a plan. And I retired about 6 years ago, and so I have even more time now, and only have 1 grandchild.
Congratulations.
A brand new
On the
one.
grandchild.
It's a brand new one, too.
Brand new, yeah, 2.5 months.
Wow. Congrats.
Very cute,
Yeah.
very cute.
I'll start showing pictures if you want.
Is there any other information you'd like to share with the commission, or do you have any questions for the commission?
No, I think that's enough.
Thank you, Jim.
Margaret, thank you for submitting your VAF and expressing interest in seeking reappointment to the Conservation Commission. By starting off, if you could give a brief background of yourself and why you'd like to continue to serve on the commission.
Okay, so my background is a little bit different. I was a math and English major, and I went into the technology industry. I designed, implemented, and supported supply chain and order management systems. I've always enjoyed open space. I grew up on an old farm. I grew up playing in woods. I leave in the morning, go off all day and explore trails and such. And when we moved to Westford 40 years ago, we ended up next to the Pomelo sand and gravel quarry. And when Lakeside Meadows went through the permitting process, I was really sorry to see that lovely grassy meadow that it was going to go away. So I started going to planning board hearings, conservation commission meetings to understand what was happening, and it gave me a firsthand look at what members of the community were doing, reviewing these projects to make sure that the interests of Westford in terms of how these subdivisions were done, how open space and wetlands were protected, so I started to see the role that residents played in that process. I met Eric at that point, and I got very interested in the Conservation Commission because I felt that water quality was important, protecting natural resources, the uptake of nutrients, flood mitigation, all of those things were important in keeping the environment sustainable. And so I attended commission meetings as openings became available. I interviewed. First time I didn't get selected. Second time I did. And I've really enjoyed it. It helped me focus. It also gave me an opportunity to develop a lot of skills, to gain experience that I wasn't getting in my job. English major, I got really good at reading orders of conditions, reading project proposals to really see what the applicant was presenting. I'm very good with system diagrams, so looking at the plans and kind of understanding what is being proposed. But the other thing that my career brought to it was understanding that they're showing us what it's going to look like when it's done, and starting to think about, okay, how do you get from existing conditions to that final state? Have they really thought through what they need to do so that they don't, so there aren't adverse consequences, things that go wrong because, the erosion controls weren't in the right place. So that became something that I could bring to the commission that kind of supplemented what other people could do. So I was appointed first time in 1995. I stepped down from the commission in 2006 when I had elderly parents that needed my assistance and kids becoming teenagers and starting to look at colleges. back in 2016, 2017, gotten through that, and Eric said, we're always looking for new commission members, so I kind of said, okay, when there was an opening, I applied, and
Found me too.
my second time in, in my career, I had been doing work managing IT projects. And I started to see how that applied here as well, because nobody works for me. Everything that we achieve by collaboration, listening to each other, valuing each other's opinions. And so I saw myself bringing more non-technical skills that complete what this commission does for the town of Westford.
Excellent.
You're a keeper. I said you're a keeper.
So, my question,
Must be- yes.
Margaret, are you focused on detail, certain areas, or do you look at the big picture?
I start by looking at the big picture, but I'm really a detail person. I did coding. You've got to get the details right or it's not going to work.
Excellent. Short and sweet.
In your experience, what is the most valuable attribute in working with people to help bring groups together or to agreement?
I think it's the ability to listen to what somebody's saying, asking questions to clarify that you really understand the point that they're making, and to convey to them that you're not just listening, you're hearing them. And, and to basically be able to look at it from their perspective, because that's the best way you can figure out if there's areas of conflict. That's one of the approaches for figuring out, okay, how do we get to some place where we can both move forward?
If we have a project before us of a house on a vacant lot, what are the first couple of things you'll look at to evaluate the proposal?
So presumably, we've got a great conservation department that it's only coming to us if it's in our jurisdiction. But yes, I look at, has the resource delineation, is it up to date? How is it done? What are the buffer zones? One of the things that I look at also is the condition of the buffer zone. If it's naturally vegetated, I understand that vegetation can slow the water flow, it can provide shade to the wetland. So there's the two-dimensional of setbacks and stuff like that, but then there's also the three-dimensional that says, what are some of the attributes of the site that are providing protection to the wetland, and then looking at what's being proposed. Why are things located in a certain place? If it's septic too close to the wetlands, is there a way that the site can be reconfigured so that we can move that away and the applicant still has the houses or the features where they'd like them to?
Thank you.
What can you tell us about the Wetlands Protection Act or the local wetlands bylaw?
So the Wetlands Protection Act was implemented by the state of Massachusetts to protect all of the interests, protection of water quality, uptake of nutrients, floodwater storage, wildlife habitat, all of those aspects of wetlands that provide an environmental value are being protected at the state level. The Wetlands Protection Act, stuff at the state level is, in some ways, it's a little bit of a compromise of what the different towns and jurisdictions want, and that's where the wetlands bylaw comes in. It lets us be more particular about the protections we provide. There are some wetland categories that are only jurisdictional under the local bylaw. So for example, there are certain wetlands that if that's the only wetland on the property, the applicant doesn't have to file under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act. So it lets us have tighter jurisdiction over some resources that might not otherwise be protected.
How would you try to balance the interests of property owners and their rights to do what they want on their property with the restrictions on it from the Wetland Protection Act and the local bylaw?
I guess the place to start is looking at the property owner. Do they understand the values that the wetlands provide to them, the cumulative benefits to them, their neighbors? In terms of listening to them, maybe helping them to understand why the restrictions are in place, what's the interest being served by the setbacks and stuff like that. You know, a lot of times there are people who really would like to do what they like to do, and it's, you know, it's understanding that they feel that way and kind of trying to come up with a way that, without being a big sledgehammer that says, you know, we're doing this, and as Jim pointed out, we're doing this consistently for everybody because protecting the wetlands and the interest, protecting the values the wetlands provide benefits us all.
In your experience, what is the most valuable attribute in working with people to help bring groups to agreement?
Is listening to people, is kind of understanding where they're coming from, what their perspective is, because that's how you can find common ground. You know, not dismissing somebody's opinion, not dismissing their priorities, because you really have to look at them as people and understand them as people, and then that gets the conversation started.
Thank you.
So, Margaret, most of the commission members have taken training courses from the MACC. Are you willing to participate in some of these courses?
Yes, my first time on the commission, I did take some of the courses when they were offered at the annual meetings at Holy Cross.
They had one or two, right?
I took some. I found it very eye-opening because one of the courses was, this is what you do if you don't have an agent to handle all the paperwork. And it made me really happy that
you have an agent.
That we have an agent. It was like, oh, you know, thinking about those commissions that are out there doing it all themselves. And I thought, I never thought about that. But yes, I took some. I found them, you know, that there was good insights that they provided. I should probably look at it and see if there are others that are. Right now, I'm really more focused on looking at the work that needs to be done. You know, I've been on the Open Space and Recreation Plan Update Committee now twice. I've been a liaison for the Commission to the Agriculture, to the Conservation Commission to the Agricultural Commission, because I see that there are connections that we need to have to make sure that the larger infrastructure works. And sometimes it's more about filling those gaps that I see. The other thing that I'll come out and say it now with Noel and Lauren is, you know, it's been 30 years since I was appointed the first time, and I look at all the opportunities that I had to learn, to gain experience, to grow, to make mistakes, and learn how to do something better the next time. And we as a commission, a lot of the things you see in our orders of conditions is stuff that we added because there was something we missed on a project. But I've started to realize that what Westford really needs is to be bringing in, you know, younger residents to come in, serve on the boards, learn what it's about, have the chance to get the experience, you know, get to try out different roles, learn, and basically grow into where Jim, Eric, myself, and where we have gotten to from years of service, and I really think it's important for the town that we, as the commission, kind of model letting people come in, do, and learn, because I think that will allow our legacy to continue.
Do you want to ask the last question, or?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Do you have the ability to give the type of time it takes to be a commission member? Who wrote these questions?
Certainly does.
Yes, now that I am retired, my schedule is much more flexible. I also have to admit that I don't have the energy I did, 10, 20 years ago. Yes, sometimes the meetings get long. I tend to sleep in on a Wednesday morning because I know it's going to be a late night. But yes, I'm still able to do it.
You're entitled.
Any questions for us, Margaret?
No, I just, I think we work really well together, and we just, we just kind of roll with the times. I mean, you weren't at the meeting. I was very sick at the last meeting, and one of the things in talking with people that made me realize is I think an important thing to do would be, you're always there as a former chair to help, take over a public hearing, but I'd like to offer the opportunity, especially to Lauren and Noel, that, give them an opportunity during a public hearing to serve as the chair for a couple of the agenda items to kind of, you've seen us do the role, have the chance to basically try it out, learn from the experience, and just grow that way so that, we went through long periods with the same person being chair over and over again. And I think it's great when you benefit from that experience and that consistency, but I also think it's important to be growing the new members of the commission. So that's not really asking you something, that's telling you something.
No, it's a good observation.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'd like to, when we're not looking at 3-hour meetings, that's something I'd like to offer people the opportunity to try stuff out. So.
Well, you got Jim reading the legal announcements, so, maybe you should try it.
It's just because I can read fast.
Yeah.
Nobody's as fast as Peter. Peter was the fastest.
Okay.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you, all three of you.
And so kind of the next piece of this, as Margaret alluded to, is, again, getting something to the select board for their upcoming meeting. Again, I think it's important from a continuity perspective, again, where we have multiple public hearings open. There are potential public hearings that will be continuing across, across the appointments. So, having this to the select board so that they can act on it, or, at their upcoming June meetings.
Well, the other thing is very subtle, not so subtly said, was if they didn't get recommendations or requests May 28th, the select board might just go off and make their own decisions.
Really?
That was.
But there's also boards and committees that, like the agricultural commission
That's what
isn't.
they're going to do anyway. I mean, that's what they're
Yes.
supposed to do.
That's what they do anyway, yeah.
They've got, they're the authority.
I've never seen them
Yeah.
do
Just make a
that.
recommendation.
Well, no.
Have you ever seen them
Oh,
do
yes,
that?
that's how
Yeah.
Chet Cook. Yeah,
Oh, my God.
we
How
didn't
far
even
back
get to
you know?
interview anybody. And all of a sudden, we had a new person sitting there on the
This is
commission.
before my time.
Yes. So,
And I'm on
but
24
you're right,
years.
it just, yes, this is a very different process now, and I tend to take things literally, because I used to do coding, and it's like they said, get it in on the 28th. I want to be closer to the front of the line than the back of the line.
So,
So translate that for me.
Well, it just is yes, we really need Matt has got a template because we have to submit 3 different requests, one for each term, each new term to be filled. And I really want us to have made a decision tonight so that, our next meeting is in 2 weeks. But I really want to make sure that we've got our information in there so that they can take the action on it.
I'm not sure I'm getting what you're saying.
So we're so the goal is for the commission to make recommendations tonight to the select board.
Of our-
I have to send 3 recommendations because, again, it's.
There's a template he's got to fill out.
There's 3 positions.
Because there's 3 open,
Yeah.
there's 3 open seats that are
So
expiring.
you need a motion from the table?
Yeah, so in terms of if the commission would like, if a member of the commission would like to make a motion to recommend one of the 4.
Only one, why not all 3?
You're doing one of them at a time, aren't you? So I think that's why.
I mean, if the commission wants to, if somebody from the commission wants to make a motion for a slate, I'm more than happy to.
A blanket recommendation then?
For 3 of the 4.
So what I'd like to start with, thinking about when we interviewed Lauren in June, is, looking, when Catherine's volunteer activity form came into my inbox, I looked at, her background degrees, and at that level it looked, this looks like a person who's got very applicable experience. Listening to you describe all that you've done, it's kind of like, gee, I wish we were adding a 4th person because, you'd be a very strong candidate. It's it would be a really asset to the commission, and I want to make sure that that's, whatever ends up happening in terms of the recommendations, I think she's a great, strong candidate. Now we're in the future.
Can we make an alternate in case something happens?
Well, actually, we tried to do that.
Yeah, and we weren't successful in that endeavor.
I didn't hear her. What did you say?
There wasn't an opportunity to have an alternative commission member or an associate.
Yeah.
Because we did at one point have that, and it was brought to our attention that that wasn't acceptable.
So, but I felt it was very important. We have a strong candidate, and
I'm impressed you've sat through this whole thing.
yeah. So, but.
So again, if any other of the commission members have, would like to.
Can we make
make a motion for.
Make a motion for the 3 of them to be reappointed.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh my God, that scared me.
Do we want to have any discussion?
No.
I mean, and the reason I say this is because this is a brand-new process. We're all in uncharted territory. And I really, if somebody had something they wanted to say, I don't want to deny them the opportunity to make a statement. Marilyn?
I was just going to say, we went through the process, we couldn't have better than we have. And I would just like to have some motion that the 3 of them are reappointed. It's our recommendation. Period.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
Hearing none.
So you'll make,
I will draft the recommendation for the select boards to be submitted tomorrow so that we can be, that the recommendation will be on their June 9th meeting, I think. And certainly, Catherine and I will be in touch because as kind of the de facto staff of the Open Space and Recreation Planning Committee, and having at-large seats, I will most certainly jump on the opportunity to increase the membership of that going forward.
But I'm also thinking, you had expressed interest in, the task force for East Boston camps.
That's also another,
In terms of, yeah,
Also
because
Agricultural Commission,
a
too.
lot of that, we are very much focused on the land, you know, we look at trails, we look at open space, and basically understanding what kind of camp program to run, how to manage the buildings. That was where it was like, this has not really been a good fit with our skill set. If you have background to offer the task force, valuable input, I think it would benefit Westford greatly, if you've got that perspective to share.
Happy to help however needed.
That would be a great start for them.
Yeah.
so, Madam Chair, I turn it back over to you for the remaining items on the agenda. Thank you
Okay.
for the opportunity to play game show host.
Okay, so our next agenda item is discuss future operation of Conservation Commission agricultural properties and review draft requests for proposals.
So included in the commission's meeting packet were both emails from interested parties to the, or that I received expressing interest in leasing and operating both at Hill Orchard. We had one inquiry, and also at the Dayfield, we had 3 inquiries, 2 being outside commercial operations, for lack of a better name, and also 1 being the community garden was looking to increase its size. And included in the commission's meeting packet was the redlined, unfortunately, the redlined version with the stuff on the side. If the commission, and so first with Hill Orchard, again, in discussing with the chair, having, and kind of as mentioned in this email, but also in another from, right, again, we'll want to cast the wide net if people are interested. Get a request for proposals out to, solicit proposals to see who is interested and, what's the cost to operating, to operate it. Again, presently we've been paying Farmer Dave approximately $7,000 annually. We've been paying him. And so I know that was for the property to be commercially viable like other orchards in the area. There were some capital improvements that, I know he had suggested. Deer fencing, again, different type of planting of the apple trees as opposed to kind of its organic structure now, as opposed to trellis, a trellis system that you may see at other local orchards. And so those are capital investments that, again, kind of go outside the, we can certainly prepare a request for proposals, have it released and get, see what interest there is and at what cost. Again, if there are members of the commission interested in reviewing them.
Could I get one to give to somebody?
I can send you a link when we do. Yeah.
If you send me that, that would be great.
How did we, I have a question and a comment. How did we come to the decision years ago, I wasn't involved, but to pay someone to manage the orchard?
So I think,
Do you have any history from the files or anything?
I can take a look. My understanding, I know in the last.
It seems to me, thinking about it, we're not fairly treating Mr. Boney, who's running an orchard, where he pays the taxes on the land, and he pays for everything that's needed. If he needs a well, if he needs a refrigerator room, if he needs the building painted over again or something like that.
He gets the total
If he needs to buy trees because they were damaged by a storm or something. But meanwhile, those are all things that we've reimbursed Farmer Dave or paid for.
Right, we've paid for, right,
To
yeah.
get those things done. It doesn't seem fair that we're really tilting the scale heavily in favor of Hill Orchard operator versus the one on Tadmouth Road.
Yeah, I again, from my recollection, from my understanding, you know, when it was acquired by the town and, you know,
It's
it's
pretty
care
to
and
see apple
custody.
trees and the blossoms, it's beautiful,
No,
but it just doesn't seem that it's fair that
Well, I
we're
think-
supporting one guy financially and the other one not.
But one's under our care and custody and the other's not.
Well, he owns
So
it.
that's why, I mean, it's under our care and custody to maintain the Hill Orchard, so, you know.
Is it related to maintain the orchard, or is it the property?
Well, but I think,
It was it was to be a viable, it was to be a viable orchard.
but wasn't, if I remember the town meeting correctly, the select board had this plan to basically buy it, and it was, I think there may have been some land going to conservation, but they were basically, it was all gonna be developed to house lots, and town meeting basically revolted and said,
Right.
no, we
Right.
want to keep the orchard.
Right.
And so,
it was-
I forgot.
it
and
was
to
still
keep it
under
as a
the
functional orchard.
And it was still under the care and custody of the selectmen, but I believe as part of the transfer of property that was under our care and custody to the selectmen, that it was discussed that, you know, Hill Orchard be one of those that went from the selectmen's custody and care to the Conservation Commission.
For the purpose of running an orchard?
Yes.
Yes, the town wanted to keep an orchard.
To maintain it.
Because we had seen,
That might be a question we ask the town again or something.
we had seen the orchard,
Oh, we've seen disappear all over the place.
yes, especially the big one, the Andersons one, and it was just the town, and we've, in the open space and recreation plan, the community input was that people wanted to still, you know, they love to see Keith Boney's orchard, but they didn't want just one, they wanted to see more. And the good question is, yes, is the town willing to pay somebody to keep it up? And where did the money to pay Farmer Dave come from?
That's in the operating budget.
Okay. So yes, that is a question, is, do enough of the town residents still want a town-owned orchard and, willing to pay?
Well, would they still want the Conservation Commission, because we have custody and care of it, to maintain it as it currently is, as an
As a
orchard?
functional orchard?
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, I mean,
If not, it would be open space or something else.
I don't think people understand that we pay to have that done. It's beautiful to drive by and to look at and smell the apple blossoms and all that.
well, and to go and buy local peaches
It is, they're
and
delicious.
nectarines
They are.
and apples,
Pick your
yeah.
own, some of them are pick your own, yeah.
Right.
All that's wonderful, but I wonder if the people know that they're paying for it.
Well,
Not
They
just
have.
paying for.
Maybe you think they need to be reminded, but.
But I don't think we're being fair to Mr. Boney.
Well,
But-
He has to pay his property taxes. If he needs a well, he has to pay for his well.
Yeah, but
If
that's
he wants
his
a buil-
choice.
If he
That's
wants a
his
building to
choice.
sell his product in, he has to buy the building and set it up.
But he.
well, is his land
They have to do it
under
too.
chapter 61?
Yeah, I mean,
One guy went in, the other guy went not.
so Jim, that land, the
Boney.
orchard on Tadmuck is
Under agricultural.
I think there's an
taxation,
agricultural preservation restriction on it,
Yes, I think
so.
you're right.
Which greatly reduces the taxes, but it doesn't make them negative, so you end up paying the guy. You don't have to pay him. He still pays, but he doesn't. pay
But
him the full value.
if he doesn't keep it functioning as an orchard, then is he out of compliance with his?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
If he wants to sell it, I think you have to go back and all.
Right, no, but to Margaret's point about, I mean, it's so it's different between the agricultural preservation restriction with which, is held. And I think it's also in chapter 61, land as agricultural, which would make sense because it is agricultural. So in terms of, we can find, again,
That's a benefit afforded to farmers by the state.
Right.
They apply to this program, you get into it, and you pay way less in real estate taxes.
Mhm.
But whoever's gonna be running the Hill Orchards, they're not paying any real estate taxes, none. Not a reduced.
But they don't
amount.
have ownership of the property.
Right.
I mean,
Why
the
they
town
need it?
does.
They get to keep all the revenue
For
from
1
all
year,
the products that
then
they
they'd
sell.
have another year. They don't have control.
Whatever, I just don't think that it's fair, but that's, I'm
Yeah.
just a
I-
one person, that's all. All
I
right.
think you want
Okay.
to coax them in.
Thank you for
so
answering
I
my
think it
questions.
is
I
fair.
think
Yeah.
maybe Keith wants to run that,
Who
Yeah, I
did
hope
somebody,
so, that would be wonderful.
wouldn't it?
I mean, I'll certainly send it to him. I have him and I
His
forget.
family,
Yeah.
because he's
Yeah.
passing
Yeah,
on.
I know
yes.
someone who may be interested, so where did he get the information from on? Do you have-
When the request for proposals is released, I'll send it to you and I'll send the link. Again, it'll be on the town's website.
Okay,
So
is
that,
that soon?
yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of, I was planning to do it 2 Thursdays ago until it came up as a discussion, with the commission about, kind of the operation and what the commission wants to do, so.
Just see that I get it and I'll pass it on.
Yep. Again, yeah, I'll share it with all the commissioners if they have any, contacts or interest.
Because somebody
Well,
reached out to me.
And one of the things that also occurred to me was if we had, is looking at the Agricultural Commission, when it started, there were people involved in agricultural who it had very different beginnings than what it is now. Because thinking about it, if we had an agricultural commission that basically had the expertise and the depth, they might be a much more logical body to manage it for the town than us. But, I mean, their focus seems to be better directed to the community gardens. But thinking back when I took over as liaison, when Bob Boonstra left, he was the vice chair of the Agricultural Commission. When I came on as the liaison, they said, "Oh, and you're going to be the vice chair too?" And I said, "No."
No.
But thinking about it, it would be really nice if the Agricultural Commission had the strength and the depth to pick up some of this stuff, to manage it. But anyway.
It's certainly an avenue to kind of explore as well.
Yeah.
Again, and included, so we've also had 3 parties have expressed interest in the Dayfield, using that. Again, they have kind of some interests in terms of, kind of some in doing some more permanent upgrades, again, kind of how and again, a lot of these questions were more appropriate, say, for a request for proposals, to answer. And again.
But you'll send it to me so I can give it to somebody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And so that's kind of the, there's interested parties, to lease the Dayfield. Again, the prior lessee was paying the town it was $1,000 annually. So
They pay us.
right, yes, they pay us. So again, this is, get the request for proposals out, start the process, get, people, get responses. And in terms of, for either or both of these, are there commissioners who are interested in reviewing kind of the Dayfield request for proposals the last time? Commission members were involved in kind of the review of the proposals to kind of score, again, as included in the RFP, there's a scoring that matrix. If anybody's interested, again, can certainly, would welcome it and, kind of be the reviewers in.
You're looking for a subcommittee?
Not a subcommittee, just, 1 or 2, members who are interested, who are, who would be able to review the request for proposals. If we have to interview people, do that, and again, make a recommendation to the commission before recommending to the select board. Again, the select board, if we're leasing land or
I'm
things like
looking
that.
at the invitation for bid, it's like you're putting them in various categories, highest
Yep.
qualified.
Yep.
Okay, I'll volunteer.
Okay. Thank you.
I could help out.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So yeah, I'll get these out, try in the next day or 2, and then, start the clock on kind of getting answers.
We ought to take a look at, right, if any questions come in, we should look at the questions and.
Yep,
kind of
right, yeah, to make sure, and again, these were some of the commission, again, it's like, it's questions that are largely like commission level, like how do the, but at the same point, having at least a subset to kind of give a first draft, here's what we think. Because again, this is a lot different than, say, hiring, the company that replaced the septic system up at Camp Cielo last year, where it's like, oh, do we need to, it's all technical stuff, and it's like, oh, please see this plan sheet, please do this, So no, I appreciate it, we'll certainly get these out, and again, kind of see what we get for responses,
Jim, I have someone who's interested too, so.
I've heard that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I want to make sure it's.
And someone in the day or just Hill?
Oh, it's a friend of my son's. So.
Okay.
No, which particular,
Oh,
is it the Day or the Hill?
It's right near me.
The Hill property.
The orchard,
The
okay.
orchard, okay.
All right, so thank you, I appreciate the input from the commission. On to the next, and as discussed, as presented at the commission's last meeting, I have drafted a letter of support for the 2026 Open Space and Recreation Plan. If any members of the commission had thoughts and.
You guys recall at that meeting where they asked us if we had any questions, I asked them about why were they missing one of the most important things, the finance aspect. There's no dollar amounts estimated for any of their projects in the 10-year plan. So I have a paragraph to add, a short one. One member of the Conservation Commission did not support the Open Space and Recreation Plan. While the plan contained a multitude of ideas that would improve the town's open space and recreational opportunities, it neglected to include any information about the costs associated with each suggestion. At the very least, the plan should include rough estimates in present-day dollars for the various suggested improvements. So I would want to add this in as a dissenting opinion, because this implies that there's no dissenting opinion.
Well, no, I mean, we can put in, the commission voted 5-1-0, if,
We didn't, I don't think we.
No, we're voting now.
Right, no, what I'm saying.
We didn't vote.
Right, no, but I'm saying, I'm saying hypothetically, you said there's no dissenting opinion there. I'm like, yeah, that's great, I can
Okay.
put in, that you didn't vote to support it, if that's,
Okay, good enough.
Did you also forward this to the
Yes, to the recreation.
recreation?
Chair of recreation, yes.
Yes, because they've got to send their own letter, and they don't have an agent. Is Michelle their agent?
I don't, Michelle and Kyle staff them, I don't know the.
Okay, but we're in this together.
Okay.
So, you're looking for a motion?
So I drafted this
Okay.
for the commission's thoughts.
Is stuff staying in there?
Stuff is not a technical term that, again, I was writing it quickly and I was like, in the end. I think this was a version that didn't get the correction. Because it was talking about, I think that was about the, it wasn't connectivity. It was about communication, I think was my, I was going through the objectives.
Connectivity and
Increased communication.
improved communication.
Improved communication, thank you. That's probably better.
Trying to come up with an acronym for stuff.
We could be here all night. Please, no.
And I know, and to Jim's point, he has this drafted paragraph. If the commission would like to, I defer to you all if you would like to include that or not.
I would like to include that.
So make the motion.
I move that we include that as part of the draft letter.
Okay. Do we want to phrase it as?
Is there a second? Is there a second? Right? Is there a
Is there a second? To including Jim's.
And we love you, Jim, but that doesn't mean we're going to.
So if it was 3-2, you'd ignore the 2 and just take them. 3 people said so that we fully support it, or what was he saying?
Well, no, I mean, we can say the Conservation Commission voted,
You can say unanimous, I know.
Yeah, and I'll put it, if you would like, we can put in, the score of, or the
My
record
intent was
of.
to include the fact that there is a dissenting opinion.
Sure.
And why I believe it's deficient. There's nothing in there about costs. I mean, this is like giving a kid a piece of paper and say, here, put together your Christmas list. You don't tell them how much you're gonna spend.
So, in that larger paragraph, Do we want to add a sentence at the end is, one member of the commission noted that there were no there were no
Costs associated with this
cost
decision.
estimates associated
With this
With
decision.
any,
With-
with any
with-
of the suggestions.
with any of the suggestions,
Yeah.
and just leave it at that, because actually, so I went to the select board last night when it was presented, and that was actually one of Tom Clay's, is
Oh,
like,
good.
okay, how much is this going to cost so that we can connect people
Excellent question.
connected with, so we know what the funding needs
Yes,
might be.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think, just,
Add a sentence, again, as, I'll defer to you to write it.
Okay, so
You're signing it, so.
one commissioner noted that the goals and objectives did not include cost estimates for any of the items.
Or why don't you just say it was noted?
But it was.
It was noted.
It was a dissenting.
You can say dissenting, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
Because it's not unanimous.
This doesn't say it was unanimous, but it implies that it was fully
Right, no, I
supported.
mean,
Right.
well, I mean, and so, I mean, again,
And
if.
Jim wants to be that dissenting
If-
vote.
if-
I want someone reading this letter to know that it was not unanimous.
Right, I mean, so, to support, and if I put, like, in the meeting minutes where it's.
6-1 or 5-1.
Yeah, 510,
No, not the meeting minutes, because meeting minutes get filed.
No,
over
no,
here.
no, but I'm saying in this,
Oh,
like I do,
okay.
like in the
Okay.
meeting minutes.
All right, in this, it would be good.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm good with that.
In the sentence as, proposed by Margaret.
Yeah, that,
Yeah. That's fine, I'm good with that.
okay. Yeah, because, and again, it's important, it's important to hear the voices, the opinions.
Thank you for telling me that Tom Clay is a similar mind.
Well, but-
Where's the cost associated?
No,
Nothing's free.
Well, but he was, but he was coming at it from a slightly different angle that says, okay, who's gonna give us that so that we can go off and figure out where we're gonna get the money? So he saw the same issue, but he took it, he had a different perspective on it.
Who's gonna get the estimates so we know how much money we're gonna need, is that kind of thing?
In terms of thinking it through, what comes from CPC, what are the, what needs to come out of the operating
The plan did
budget?
mention that CPC was a source of some funds,
Yeah,
as were grants and tax
Yeah.
dollars, et cetera, but it didn't have any dollar estimates.
well, yeah, and then Sean Kelly said, is there any low-hanging fruit we can do? So, yeah, but there's different perspectives.
That means I have to, I think that was homework for me, I have to get to, shoot,
Yeah.
gotta get a response to that.
Yeah.
So including the sentence after the main paragraph, as proposed by Margaret, and including, some, the vote score, for lack of a better term, but I don't know.
The vote results.
Vote results, yeah. If amenable with the commission, I would respectfully request that the commission make a motion, a motion be made to support the adoption of the Westford's 2026 to 2036 Open Space and Recreation Plan, letter of support as amended.
And I have a motion to support adoption of the Town of Westford's 2026 to 2036 Open Space and Recreation Plan. A motion to support, or a motion to approve our letter of support as amended.
I'm confused, but I'm a dissenting vote. How do I vote?
No, so we have drafted, we have a letter of support drafted and amended. Can I have a motion?
To approve that draft, that letter with the amendments included?
Yes.
And who
So
signed
moved.
this?
Second.
Margaret's gonna sign it.
What?
Margaret signs it.
Okay.
That's what it said.
Okay, so
I-
a
well, I
motion,
see it.
so,
Right down there.
yeah, sorry.
That doesn't
yeah.
help me.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So again, sending on behalf of the commission. So a motion and a second.
No further discussion?
All those in favor?
We're voting
Aye.
to support the letter, support the letter as written, I support it. I don't support the open space plan, but I do
Well,
support the
no,
letter.
okay.
That's
so-
why I asked you, how do I vote?
Yes, that's, I see, I see,
If the letter was intact and included the vote, the score as you called it, if it had all that information in there, then I could support the letter.
okay,
But I'm not supporting the
So-
open space plan.
can I have a motion to support the adoption of the Town of Westford's 2026 through 2036 Open Space and Recreation Plan?
So
Can I-
move.
Can I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
The motion carries.
Yeah, can I have a motion to submit the letter draft, the amended letter summarizing the commission's position?
To who?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now we're now approving the letter.
Oh, but you didn't say to send it to anybody.
Oh,
The letter, it's already
but
included in the
no,
letter.
to be submitted with the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, sorry.
So
It's okay. I don't know if I said those exact words.
It's okay.
But yeah, so we've taken a vote on the plan and we've taken a vote on the letter. Okay.
I'm gonna sleep very well tonight.
6, we can be quick, we'll move,
Yeah.
I
Need more?
heard back from the Agricultural Commission Chair, they approved the draft MOU, so, we'll get a hard copy for the chairs to sign. The certificate of compliance request for 69 Broadway Street 334-1693. Again, we have not received any of the requested information. I would recommend the commission deny the certificate of compliance request.
And I have a motion to deny the certificate of compliance
Second.
request for EEP file number 334-1693. So I have a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Enforcement, like,
On that one, on CSX Railways, I got a call from Keith Morris. He's the environmental consultant for CSX Railways. He's looking for who's gonna go, if anybody, from the Conservation Commission.
I'm more than interested, and
He said he called you, but he hasn't heard back.
he's emailed me and.
Okay,
I've just,
whatever, contact.
Yeah, he's contacted me. He's sent emails
All right,
and
He
it's,
called, yeah,
yeah,
he called me last night.
yeah.
So return his call, or call him back and let him know that you're the
I'll
person.
sign. If no other commissioners, again, if no other commissioners are interested,
This is what you used to do?
He got to do it once.
Yeah.
I gotta do it a bunch of times, but
Oh.
in 10 years, probably 3.
Really?
And we issued an enforcement order, and then we issued fines last year. But we didn't send the fines out for a few months, and then when we did send them, we didn't follow up. And I have no idea what's going on with it. I don't think there's much enthusiasm here for it. That's why I'm not that interested in doing it again and again and again.
But they
It's a battle.
resurrected it.
Because what?
But they resurrected asking you to go, right?
The consultant called me up last night.
Okay.
And you, but
So
did
they're trying
did
to
it
get
get
us-
that far last year?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Matt may still not get a trade line.
I don't know.
Okay,
I need to
with
go there.
43 Cold Spring Road,
I received a call from an consultant this afternoon. Their progress may be being made.
okay,
So, while certainly timeframes have not been complied with, and I've not received responses back to my emails, it was sitting with the consultant to kind of engage with the property owner, subject to the violation. So, we may have an update soon.
okay.
anything. 120 Main Street is making progress in the ordered items. Everything else, I don't have a specific. I'm meeting on site at 13 Forest Road tomorrow. Their erosion controls have been installed. They're looking to start work for the enforcement order portion of the proposed work. That's it for that. I unfortunately do not have any updates on any of these discussion or action items.
Now, with the Community Preservation Act funded projects, the next step is to send out, is it RFPs or just outreach to specific?
We can, depends on engineering and design, we can kind of sole select. In terms of the improvements at Freedom Park, we'll get I'll look to get a quote first, but that's,
And we're waiting, you're connecting with the person who's gonna deal with the bench graffiti.
Yes.
Tree management, is that actually starting?
They removed one that was uprooted yesterday, and in advance of the 5th grade camp, which is presently active up there. And I need to get quotes for kind of the larger scale.
Okay. With the update that Mike Edwards gave to the select board last night about what's going on with these Boston camps, does it make sense for, I mean, I saw it because I went looking at this meeting packet for the select board, but in terms of, you know, the town manager's office, public works, public safety, animal control, they've gotten a much more focused effort to be proactive, dealing with the stuff that's going on there. There was a very good discussion last night at the select board meeting in terms of, you know, what's going on with this public land steward position. You know, it just, I don't know what's kind of the best way to bring members of the commission up to date in terms of watching that portion of the select board meeting last night or going and looking at the slide set that's available online.
That's probably the better way.
Okay, so when you look at the meeting when you go online to look at our meeting packets, if you take the select board instead and you go look at their May 26th, there's a whole long list of things. So you can just basically say, oh, I'm interested in looking at the Stony Brook Conservation Area, East Boston Camps updates to select board. And it's just a PDF slide set that Mike Edwards put together about, you know, what actions have been taken, what coordination is happening between departments in terms of.
I can send an email out with those links.
Okay.
So that people don't need
Yeah.
to go search for them. I can certainly do that.
Okay.
Get that tomorrow.
But yeah, that it just, you know, is, I think it's getting a lot of the groups involved that need to be involved there. It was interesting last night, you know, all the talk about dogs off leash, people seeing this, and it's like, you know, there was reiteration that says, if you see something, call the non-emergency line because, you know, we really need what people observe reported so that they kind of, especially if it's the times, it helps them focus in on, you know, when to randomly have groups out there. Anyway, we're all fading fast.
And, yeah, and I don't have, there'll be a lot of minutes at the next meeting packet. That's my little delinquent. No site visits to record or schedule.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.